Good morning, buenos dias. What is up, everyone? Happy Friday. It is the Edgeful Wolf stream with Emperador Maximiliano. Welcome back. Thanks for joining. Thanks for spending your time with me. I am looking at this chart going, what is going on? We do have options expiration going on. This morning, the SPX options for the month of January are expiring right here in the AM, and then we have a ton of options expiration at the end of the day today. I just took a short right up here. My average is about 610. I just took a short. I'm willing to add up into this area, but this thing is so overextended. I was actually looking at all these green 15-minute candles, a few things that we're running into. So starting the stream with a little bit of a short, a light short going into the open. I know this looks crazy, but I'm looking for a pullback maybe to here, maybe to this trend line. What is going on today? Economic calendar, there's not much on here. We've had a big week of a lot of things going on. We are over this trend line right here. And if I go to the higher time frame on this trend line that we have rejected, we rejected it hard yesterday. We came back down. These same levels I think I had on here on Wednesday when we had this day. I got through some of these levels. We came back and we held this level down here very nicely, and we are straight through that trend line. And we'll see if it holds, if it comes back down a little bit. This box is kind of a flip zone for me, so we'll see what happens on the stream today. If you're in the chat, if you're watching, shout out to you first off. Let's have a great Friday together. Thank you for joining me. But also do want to say, let me know what you're watching. We had some guys on Wednesday taking some great trades. Brian, if I remember correctly, was in an NVIDIA trade that played out very, very nicely. So I remember that, Brian. I know the stream ended and I didn't get a chance to say kudos to you. Great trade that you had on Friday. What else are you guys watching? This short is actually working out a little bit right now. I'm looking to get back to here. We'll take a trim. If we can get back into the EMAs, maybe back to this trend line would be even more ideal, but we'll see what's going on as we open here in 7 minutes. Now, if you are looking around at the market, you'll see almost everything over here is extended hours. Almost everything is up at least 1% or more. I scroll through here. My Walmart's a little bit red, but that's okay. Maybe that's the sentiment that we're going to pull back. I don't know. But yeah, almost everything is up very, very big green. What a wild session we had yesterday. We look at yesterday's session. This happened overnight. Taiwan semi-earnings came out. This happened. We hit the top of this box that I had drawn for 2 weeks. Hit this downtrend that I was just showing you guys. And we came all the way back into the previous day's range. We came all the way back and we fell apart at the end of the day. This was right at the close of the market. And then we've trailed up ever since then. And then look at this, since 8 a.m. this morning, we just ripped. How many points is this? I mean, goodness gracious, from this 8 a.m. candle, 343. I mean, that's almost 300 points. What a crazy move. Unbelievable. 279 points. I'm playing a little bit of revert to the mean. It is a counter trend trade, so we are going to be careful on this short, especially coming into the open. Open volatility could easily shoot this thing up, straight back down. 5 minutes till the open here. And my average is like right in here. I think it's like 607 is my average on this trade, so we'll stay in it. I went light enough that I can wait this out a little bit because I don't want to go super heavy and it shoot up a little bit higher and then come down. But I did want to get some exposure here. I know it's before the market opens, but definitely wanted to get some type of trade on. Here we go. We got some people rolling in. How do I pronounce your name? Is it Chai? Calbro? I don't know. I love that name. That name is sweet. Looking at Tesla today. Let's take a look at the Tesla chart. I'm going to look at it on the high time frame first. I do want to see what Tesla looks like. Let me get to my main watch list over here. Tesla. Well, it's a decent look on Tesla. Right at the 20-day, we're opening up right at this 420. This whole level, I'm just going to draw a box. because this entire area has been a very interesting area. This box needs to be reclaimed. You see the lows here multiple times, broke through, came back in, rejected there, closed right under it there. This box is definitely the area of interest for me on Tesla. What does that look like? 420s, so 424 down to 415-ish. Yeah, if we open up and hold above there, if we break above this, definitely if we break above 430, Tesla looks fantastic. I will be keeping my eye on that. Interesting. Once we get the market open, we'll take a look at previous day's range, previous day high and low. We'll keep an eye on that. We will have a massive gap up, and you guys know that's one of the first things I look at is the gap up on this. J, okay. J is how we pronounce that. Thank you. J. Awesome, Jay. I'm excited for you. What do you have on Tesla? Are you in a trade, or are you going with you're watching it at the open? Let me know what you've got going with Tesla over there. I will keep an eye on that with you. That is very interesting. I do like the chart there on Tesla and the story around Tesla, right? Been all over the place lately. You know, you look at this, but I mean, we've got a nice trend built here. Look, higher, you know, you got the low, you got a higher low, you got a higher low, and you've got higher high, higher high. So you've broken over some of this area, and on that higher time frame, you can see it, but it is coming into a very interesting area on the Tesla. Oh my goodness, we are pumping straight through. I got stopped out on this trade. I am going to try it again. That's why I went very light there. I'm definitely going to try it again. We're going to try it fairly light though. I'm going to try it here. Maybe I wait for the pivot point up here, 700. I don't know. Wild move. I really probably don't want to be a part of it, to be 100% honest, but I had to give it a little bit of a shot here. I don't know. I've had a great week. Hope all of you have had a great week. There's Brian. Brian, what's up, my friend? Let me get to my other screen view so we can make this a little bit bigger. Brian, that NVIDIA trade was beautiful the other day. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful on that trade. Sorry, I'm looking at a couple things here. Let me get my screen a little bit better here. There we go. All right, 20 seconds till the open. Watch out for this options expiration right now, guys. All right, short, quick short here. Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm taking a trim quick. I'm looking for this thing to just come shooting back down and then probably get dip bought really fast. Of course I remember that, Brian. Of course I remember that. We'll take a look at some of the stuff here in just a second. I did just take a trade right here. I mean, I got in like right here in the 40s. Upper 40s. Trimming out a little bit more. Let's keep it Got a trim there coming into that EMA 9. If this candle gets bought up, watch this EMA 9 push back up. Be careful there. I like this box I've had forever, 650 or 560 for the next one. Get to 560. Come down to my box, and we'll take a second trim here. I'm sorry that this guy's was a quick one. Made back that first loss I took. I was afraid going in the open, so I went really light. Went a little bit heavier on this one. Did not take a full position. We're not taking a full size, probably all day. Goodness gracious, what a drop there. Glad we caught that. I yelled short. I know that was a quick, and by the time some of you guys heard it, it probably already went too fast. I do apologize for that. There's nothing I can do about that when futures move as fast as they do sometimes. Well, we almost touched my box. I really need to get another trim off here and be out more than half of this position. I'm going to trail my stop down a little bit just to be safe. Right in here is where my stop is at, about 625. I would really put it up here, but I want to lock in profit this opening volatility. We'll take a look at everything in just a second. I am monitoring this trade. Let's take a look at QQQ. Let me put QQQ up here real fast. We want to see where we're at. I do have this December NFP level. These Fibonacci levels are based on the recent downtrend. We'll kind of keep an eye on those. I may go ahead and take them off. We may redraw those. Previous day high. This is what I want to see. We're going to look at this previous day high. We want this to come back and touch. This is a bullish outside day. We have a report on this on Edgeful. Bullish outside day. We want this to come back and touch here. Let me go to a smaller time frame chart, and we can get that line set up because it hasn't been but a few minutes into the market. I need to go to a smaller time frame. Look at the previous day high that's about to pop up over here somewhere. Where are you at? There it is, right there. We're looking for 519.09. We're looking for that to come touch, that to come get tested. 519. Oh, my music stopped for a normal time frame. We'll start with 5 minutes this morning. Brian's watching Apple calls today. All right, I'm about to get the second trim right here. Boom, there it is. Okay, nice trade to start the day. Tesla 430 calls are coming in active. I just heard on the Newswalker. I wanted to share that with you guys. Let's see if we can get down to the 21. I'm gonna keep my eyes on this. Remember this. I can show you guys this report. If you've watched my videos, if you've watched these streams, you know I watch the previous day's range a lot. There is a report called Outside Days. Let me see if I can get to that real fast while I keep my eye on. Thankfully, I have a large screen. I have a very large screen, so thankfully I can keep my eyes on a lot of things. Check out this report. If you have Edgeful, jump in there. Look at this. Outside Days. QQQ, bullish outside day. More than half the time we do come back down and touch it. That's basically you open up above the previous day high, you do come back and touch it. This one right here, coming back to touch it. 56% of the time. Let's look at SPY as well. 61% chance that we pull this on SPY. I like those odds a little bit better. We are getting a nice pull here. Let's see, I've got an order waiting. Where do I want to wait on this thing? 520, 521. I'm just going to spray out some more trims down here. Well, it's about 100 points already. Look at this. I yelled out this trade like right here. How about that? 95 points. All right, we are going to trail the stop down. We're out I'm out 2/3. I'm out 2/3. Let me take I'll take a look at some stuff. Let me get back to what I was showing you guys. I'm all over the place here. So SPY coming back to touch this level is a 61% chance probability. 61% chance. Now the gap all the way down here is going to be a very low probability. We're not shooting for that. Right here, 61% chance. Now if we look at the gap fill, The gap fill stats are going to be terrible on SPY. We don't want to look for the gap to fill. Look at this gap. Here's the gap to open. Let's see, where do we open at? Right there, 0.9%. Watch this, guys, watch this. We're gonna make that a little bit bigger so you can see it on the screen. SPY gap fill. We're gonna go by size right here, by size. 0.9, so we're in this category. Gap up, 71% of the time we're not gonna fill this gap. So what does that tell us already? What does that tell us, crew? We are not looking for SPY to come down to here. This would be my target on SPY. Maybe this, if we get this and you left a runner and you're looking for maybe this area down here, that would make a lot of sense. Maybe orb high from yesterday would be a good spot. That is something I'll be watching for. But I don't want to trade for a 30% probability. That's what the gap fill is, 29% probability on the gap fill. Let's check QQQ for you guys while I'm sitting in these runners. I do think this trade's gonna get down here. I really think we're gonna get down here. This is that big trend line. Let me pull this back. See the trend line we rejected yesterday? Let's see if we come back test it. You reject a trend line, you reject a trend line. If we get over that trend line, look, how many times are we gonna reject it? See this, boom, 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 reject, reject, broken. Great sign. Now do we come and back test it and go? Do we do something like this right here? That's what we want to see today. That's what we want to see today. Here we go. Come on. Let me get back to my normal settings here. I really want to see if we can get down to the 21 moving average that we haven't touched since the 8 a.m. rip. I think these two things are going to meet together somewhere right in this area, maybe 520, somewhere in that area. I have my trim set at 526. That's what we're looking for right here. That'll be a beautiful trade. Is this short or long? Short. Let's just take a look at what I have right now. Whoa. You are looking for a big thing. So this is essentially what I'm looking for in this trade. My average is right in that area. 137 points or so would be beautiful. Let's see, if we just put it on the whole number down here, 500, how does that look? Yeah, we'll call it a 140 point trade. Let's see if we can get that. We've already done a lot. Okay. Well, as this plays out, boy, what a fun open. Don't you guys love volatility? There it was. I just got my trim at the 520. Let's see if we can get 500. And I'll be down to just a runner left. If we can come down to 463, I will take final profit. 463 full target. If you're looking for a long, a dip buy, this can be a very decent spot to give it a shot right here off the 21, or this trend line back test. Let's go ahead and move the stop down to, well, I guess the top of this last wick. Maybe these 5-minute candle closes here. I don't know. Let's see where SPX is at. 59.83. Did SPX hit 6,000? SPX opened at 6,000. Wow. Jay, I appreciate that. Appreciate that on the short. Let's see. Brian has got Apple calls. Apple calls. Let's take a look at Apple calls in just a second. I want to measure this gap we were looking at a second ago. That gap is so big. I'm never gonna say there's no chance something fills. This thing's it's only happened 6 times that we've gapped up more than 1.5%. I don't think that gap. I mean, if I had to take like a strong bet, it's that we are not going to fill the gap on QQQ today. We will have a wide orb range today, which will be very interesting. A reminder, if you're just joining the stream or if you're not aware, we do have options expiration today, monthly options expiration for January. Now, some of you are probably aware of triple witching, quad witching, which are big options expirations, right? When you have the futures expiring, you've got people that have quarterlies, monthlies, all that. Those are massive days, right? Massive amounts of money is getting shuffled around. They're closing out positions and rolling out to the next strikes and stuff. Today is not quad witching, but this is probably the largest one outside of those quad witching. So instead of March, June, September, December, this is probably the other biggest one because leaps expire today. So when people look at a stock and they want to go out for a year or so on call options, the leaps, the January 2025 leaps are expiring today. So heads up on that. Make sure we don't get sucked into any trappy looking price action today. We do want to keep an eye on that. That's part of my suspicion of why that ran up so hard right there at the open. When you look at this massive run up, I just think, for that option expiration, I think that was a big piece of it. So either way, I'm still in this short. Let's take a look at Apple for my man Brian. Yeah, Apple got absolutely punished yesterday. I would not be surprised to see some relief today. The only thing that scares me is if Apple does an inside day. Let's look at the daily on Apple. The daily on Apple looks disgusting, but it did oversell. How many times have you seen, Brian? You tell me. How many times have you seen Apple down 4% in a day? Why does this look so strange? I'm gonna reload this chart real fast. Where's all my numbers? My numbers are gone. Brian, how many times have you seen Apple down 4% a day like it was yesterday? Very rare, right? You would think there's got to be some kind of relief. My fear would be that Apple has an inside day. My fear is that Apple stays inside of this. Now, it probably moves upside. I mean, I would be inclined to look for a dip buy on Apple, maybe right in here off of this previous low, like right there. I would look for maybe Apple to hold here and push up and look for like up in here, maybe 234. It's just a tough call. I mean, look, this is support. I mean, look at this. Look at this current price. It's support. It was broken yesterday. If you're going to have an inside day, I mean, today's the day. I just got my trim at 500, by the way. We just got that last trim. I'm leaving one in case we get down to this area. I'm going to front run this level actually because VWAP's a hair above it. We're going to front run to VWAP right in here. I have 468 seems like a good spot. 468 seems like a good spot. Let's do that. Let's go right there. That's 175 points basically from our entry. And that's just down to a runner. If I missed anybody's questions or anything, let me double check. Chat, what's up? How are we doing, chat? How about a good morning? Goodness gracious. What a short right off the open. What is ARB? ARB, I'm not familiar with that one. Oh, the Argentinian peso? No, I'm not familiar with that one. I'm not a big Forex person. I just don't, I follow some of it just loosely for some macro ideas and stuff. Okay, this is starting to look like a dip buy. Back test to the trend line and the curl on this. I'm moving a stop down here, and I'm not holding a whole lot, or actually no, I'm not holding really anything. Got one little guy left. That's all I got. Boy, it would have been nice if I went real heavy on that. Yeah, sorry, I'm not familiar with ARB. If you're talking about the Argentinian peso, which is what popped up there real fast. Boy, you talk about trading currency as a a different thing that I've never really dove into. I can look at a chart and trade a chart, but I don't know. Some of that's interesting. All right, I will say if we stay under right here, I think I would try the short again back down to here. Maybe I could put like a couple of my trims back on. I don't know. It's Friday. It's options expiration. I don't know if I want to push the gas. Boy, I nailed this entry the second time. The first time I was short right in this area. I got stopped out obviously on this. I knew that was a possibility, went really light. This more than made up for it. So we are good on that. I'm moving my stop down right above this, right in this area, 577. That's where I'm going to put my stop. Let's see, Apple off that level. See if it holds. Boy, Tesla, look at these upper wicks right at yesterday's high, but previous day high has broken on Tesla. Let's see. Let me find the chat. Who's? Oh, it was Jay. Let's see, somebody mentioned Tesla. I couldn't remember which one it was. It got going a little bit there. Let's take a look at Tesla. Let me go back to my normal reports here. TSLA. Tesla, previous day's range is what I'm going to show you. Previous day high, broken. 74% chance you have a nice green day on Tesla. Previous day high, broken right here. So like if you shorted Tesla, you're not looking for it to go red, for sure. You're not looking for it to come down here. You're looking for it to come back into this area somewhere. I would think, look at that, you have a gap fill from a previous day up here that hasn't filled. What does that look like on the daily? This is still my dream price on Tesla, by the way, for long term. That gap fills right here because we never got back to there. I still think we can try to get to that previous day right there. Right in this area. I think we wick down here and get this rejecting up here, staying inside the box. I think we get VWAP and maybe this right here. I don't know. I could see it shooting down here and still trying to close the candle above this trend line, but that's the big watch for me, is that trend line right there. Apple gaining momentum. Let's take a look. I want to see this previous day high touched. I just think, I mean, I know the odds weren't super strong on that, but I do like the back test of the previous day high. I just think that most likely is going to happen in this scenario. This first 15-20 minutes, my brain's been all over the place. Nice little pop on Apple. And then you see a higher low here. Let's see what the 15-minute looks like. That's not a bad place. Look, this is kind of where it tried to support yesterday. SR flipped from here, this part to here, and then you see it was rejecting, and then it turned into support. You want this to stay support here, and that's a decent look. Here's your target, previous week's range. You're looking for that reclaim, or at least that to test. This would probably be my target, honestly, if I was long Apple. 1 hour candle on NQ. What does the 1 hour on NQ look like? What? NQ. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy, crossbars. Oh, buddy. Boy, that 1 hour candle does look concerning, doesn't it? Crossbar, goodness gracious. But I mean, this could resolve out, right? It could still close green. I don't know. This candle is crazy, and the bigger thing is that trend line. That as long as that trend line is still there, I don't think we're that worried about it. I don't know. Funny things can happen on options expiration. All right, this is a good look so far. Here, let me just turn off the indicators real fast. That's the back test of that trend line. Let me get this off of here. Here, let me go to the 4 hour. So there's the trend line on the 4 hour. You guys can see that. If we jump down to like a 30-minute, you see the rejection there, and you see the back test right there. We come down to a smaller time frame. You see the back test and bounce. Now you don't want this to be a bear flag, and it really could test this trend line a couple times. This is a long trend line, right? Just the first touch and go. May not be the touch and go. It may need to be like a little bit higher time frame, because that's what the trend line's based off of. The other thing is, I mean, if you were taking a shot at it though, you see this 21. This yellow is the 21 moving average. Let me turn off. So the yellow is the 21 moving average right there. EMA, the 9 EMA right there. So this yellow one, you see, look at this curl right on it. You see these candles, boom, 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 like that. Now you want to see this hold, obviously. If this doesn't hold, you've got VWAP down here. To me, it's just a little bit tough of a buy to go long yet. I really want to see if we can get. I moved this up, by the way. I'm going 475. I want to front run that VWAP just a little bit. So it's 6 minutes for that first 30-minute orb to play out. Brian, sometimes it happens that way. I'm worried Apple has an inside day. You don't want a continuation down, but you did have a big down day, so you probably get an inside day. After an outsized move, usually comes back with that consolidation inside day. But the hardest thing is when you have something like, something you like, and it starts to kind of break your thesis. You're like, oh, when do I get out? When do I cut? When do I not want to be in this trade? And I know, like, a former Wall Street guy, he told me one day, I was trading, we were talking, and I used the word hope. It's like, oh, I hope this trade works out. And he said, you just made the cardinal sin. It's the moment you start hoping, you probably don't want to be in that trade anymore. So sometimes it's good to just get out, reassess, maybe get back in. I know that's a lot easier to do on futures than it is on options, depending on your portfolio size. Vish, we've got Vish looking at Meta. What's the meta with you? Let's take a look at Meta, Facebook. What's Mark Zuckerberg up to? I like this Meta chart, guys. I really do. But Daily 21, headed back up. 50, 20. By the way, we're still holding this. We're still holding this at 21. This breaks over, you probably test these highs again. I don't know. All right, I do want to take a look at Meta. A higher time frame, Meta looks pretty good. It is a little bit. I mean, you're consolidating up here above this, which is good. You held the 50-day right here. This is the 50-day. Only thing that worries me about Meta is if all the excitement over the TikTok ban, if something comes through that TikTok doesn't get banned, that makes me a little bit nervous. All right, I was gonna take a look at Meta over here. Meta's gap is, boy, that's a brutal candle on Meta right there. It's our previous week range. We're good on that. Previous day high was broken. You're expecting a green close on Meta, so this is a decent dip buy somewhere. Broke the previous day high. You should probably have a green day. We'll see. Be careful with this options expiration. I think a lot of this exuberance here at the open was because market makers, a lot of positioning was there. Come through that, get down here to my full target. Come on. Orb low is about to set. I would love for orb low to set down here. Come on, we got through 500. We got through the trend line. They could easily buy this back up. Remember, this trend line's on a 4-hour chart, a 3-hour chart, a higher time frame. 5-minute candle wicks through a trend line is not a break of the trend line, in my opinion. If you start closing a bunch of candles down here, that looks different. But I mean, if I throw a 15-minute on this, this could easily still close back up here, or an hourly candle could still close back up here, right on it. Look at that, right on it, with 15 seconds left on the hourly candle. So just keep that in mind. Even if it wicks down again after this hour, I mean, this hourly close, this could close here, and then you still get this wick, and then it goes. Something to think about. I'm not ready to get long just yet. I don't know, it's just something about that run up in the morning feels a little fabricated. I don't know. Is that the term? Am I going long off VWAP? Oh, that's tough. I would rather go long down here, lower in my box. But if you're long off the trend line here, I don't blame you for taking that shot. I don't know, it's tough with the options expiration, guys. Supreme Court upholding the law that TikTok has to shut down is what I just heard on the Squawker. They said Snapchat is bouncing on that. Did Meta get any move off of that? Well, hold on. Nvidia looks that good and y'all aren't telling me about it? What's going on here? Nvidia looks really good. I need to be careful on the short side. Nvidia is the highest beta stock by far in the NASDAQ, and it is strong. Oof. Let me throw my 30-minute orb on here. Guys, make sure you check out Edgeful, of course. But the gap fill, I already looked at some of these reports. The gap fill is not really on the table today. But we can watch the orb stats. The orb is massive today. Look how big this orb is. How big is this? 166 point orb today. '49's got the hourly 9 right there. Interesting. Yeah, look, that's still kind of my main target. I really want to see, I know the stats are like, what, a little bit better than a coin flip that we touch it. But just with the scenario, I mean, that's close enough, honestly. I wanted to touch previous day high. That's close enough. I would rather it wick down into that. I would feel better about longs once that completes. Well, I don't know if SPY's going to do it. And look at this. This looks like it wants to resolve higher. SPY looks much stronger. Now, remember, this options expiration. There's a lot of moving pieces right now. I really want this to come down. I mean, look how close was that? 4 pennies away. Boy, look at Tesla go. Tesla looks fantastic. Well, I don't know who called out Tesla, but I hope you, shout out to you for one. I hope you got calls on Tesla. What a move. Nice chart on Tesla. CrowdStrike is getting smoked on something. What happened to CrowdStrike? It's down like 2%. It's just been getting smoked since the open. Something's going on with CrowdStrike. Oh, Jay, you got out of Tesla too soon. Bummer on that. Bummer, but hey, it's all right. You caught the play a little bit. You got some green under your belt. Hopefully, locked in some. Oof. Yeah, Tesla and Nvidia are absolutely pumping right now. Pumping. Boy, if we get over this midpoint of the orb, I'm getting out. My stop is, where is my stop? Did I put it here? Do I lower it? This looks like it wants to resolve higher off this trend line, if I'm being 100% honest. I just got stopped out of that last runner, which is fine. Nice trade. We'll look for the next one. Let me draw this trend line. Oof. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, I'm out of this position. Let's close that out. I know I have a lot of stuff in my chart here. I hope that's not too confusing for you guys. Let's take a look at some orb stats. You can look at these obviously on the futures too. I watch SPY and QQQ a lot, so I want to take a look at it here. Double break, the most common of the orb throughout the day. Let's see, same candle though. So this is a key that I'm looking at right here. 30-minute time frame after the 30-minute opening range is formed. So once we get that first 30 minutes, the next 30 minutes, look how you're gonna break one side or the other most of the time. Is this a 4.76% day? I don't know, but I'm willing to take that risk at some point that we're gonna break either this or this in the next 30 minutes. I would think this one, but hey, maybe you just rip today. What if we just rip up here? That kind of makes sense too. Tesla is screaming to the upside. The video is still super strong. Both just made new highs a day. AMD up 2.5%. There you go. Bitcoin. Who's watching Bitcoin? Any of y'all trading Bitcoin? Somebody mentioned crypto related. Who was that? Was that you, Jay? I think Jay mentioned crypto related stocks. Boy, Bitcoin's back over key level. Here we go. Risk on. Goodness gracious. Holy Coinbase. Nice. All right, I'm so tempted to take another trade right here. I don't really want to. We're right in the middle of the orb still. I would want to see this tested again and maybe this area down here VWAP just for the scenario that we're in. But if it does this, like I'm not gonna let bias kill me, nothing. I really don't have a clear view. We're right in the middle of this orb. I mean, as long as we stand at that midpoint maybe, but oh boy, it's a tough call. You're over the EMAs. If I zoom in a little bit here, that 9 EMA right there, 21. This orange is VWAP with my outer bands are the green ones here. 49, yeah, especially on Bitcoin, right? I think the Bitcoin crypto play with Trump's inauguration on Monday is interesting. I will say, reminder everyone, the market is closed on Monday morning. Or not Monday morning, all day Monday. If you trade futures, it's actually open Monday morning. That's where I was going with that thought. So if you trade futures, you can get the regular open on Sunday night and you can trade until 1 Eastern. Make sure you check if you trade prop firm or whatever you trade. Check with your broker and make sure that you have the ability to. But futures are open until 1 Eastern on Monday. Then they'll open back up at regular time. I'm probably more inclined to be watching Monday night when I'll probably, right here on my screen behind me, I'll probably throw the inauguration on. I'll probably be watching it right over here on this screen, and I'll probably be trading the trading futures some during the inauguration if we get some move. OP King, yo, what's up, my man? What are you looking at today? What are you trading? I still think we come down. I'm not in a position right now. I'm completely flat. It's a reminder, actually, flat is a position. I think futures traders especially, you get this like inclination to always be in a trade. I might get a special guest for you guys. I might be pulling in a special guest for you guys. Look at that right off. Look at that right off the 21. This looks like it wants to resolve higher. If I'm being 100% fair, I'm not in it. I would rather it come down here. I don't know. It's tough for me to long when we're up 1.5% on the day. It's a tough long for me. This trade is testing my discipline and emotions. Isn't that part of it? Man, it's always part of it, right? Boy, for me, like I can get in a trade. It is hard to like bail out on a trade once I'm already in it. Most of the time I just set my risk, and if it invalidates, like I'm bad about not getting out of a trade like after a trade invalidates, because I usually do just set my risk and say, okay, this is what I'm willing to risk. But at the same time, for me, discipline and emotions, the hardest thing is like right here, not getting into a new trade, because I could have like tried to short up here. I could have tried to long down here, and I may have gotten wicked out here. I may have gotten wicked out on a short here, which, I mean, I guess I did get wicked out of a runner here, but if I like tried to re-short in here, I could have just got wicked out and it still would come back decently in my favor. I mean, there's decent range right now. Now look at this, 525s to 580s. I mean, you're bouncing 60 points back and forth. I wish it was Uncle Frank. It's not Uncle Frank. All right, guys. I think I have a special guest for everyone.
What's up?
Andre, what is up?
How are you?
This is the CEO of Edgeful himself and a fellow trader. I know you were trading a little bit this morning.
Yeah, we were. Crazy open today.
Yeah, let me turn down this music a little bit. Apparently it's so loud. There we
Pretty
go.
wild open today.
Yeah, how about that drop? Well, first off, how about that pre-market run-up?
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable, to be honest. It was, when this, I mean, I always go for the gap fill. It's something I look at every day, but when there's a gap like this, I'm just immediately like, stay away. I'm not interested at all. And I wasn't really sure what to expect. I know we were talking earlier in the morning. You were like, I'm ready to short this. And you had a great trade, right?
Yeah, it worked out. I just got stopped out this last little impulse right here. Just stopped me out of the last runner. I was telling the chat here, I was like, I want to get back in that short, but like I see
Yeah.
this curl off the EMAs and I see that trend line back test. Do you see it? Did you see that trend line I was talking about?
Yeah, the one you sent me was so clean.
So like yesterday, it was absolutely beautiful. Look at that.
You
Yesterday.
posted that on X, right? Last night you said don't shoot.
Yeah, right at the beginning. So yesterday, yeah, yesterday morning, it was like right at the start of the day. Let me turn this off. Right at the start of the day, I was like, don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just putting this here. And you look at how hard we came back down, but now we're breaking it. We're opening up this new candle above it. Like, as much as I love shorting, Andre, I don't want to play around with this thing anymore.
Yeah.
I got to be fair to both sides.
When you look at a trend line like that, now, are you looking for a retest of that trend line, or are you just, it's broken and it's gone now?
Depends how you're approaching it, and the time frame. So like for me, when I see that trend line, I immediately think, okay, it's a 4-hour trend line across like multiple weeks.
Yeah.
It needs a back test at some point. Now on the initial break can shoot, like, take off, right? Because it's broken the resistance. But then within a certain period of time, whether it's like that same day, maybe it's even the next day or two, you're probably going to retest it a time or two. I mean, that's the way when I go to the higher time frame here. I mean, how many times it hit it a couple times here, hit it again here, hit it again here. You would think it's maybe, I mean, it could just break and go, right? I mean, I think most traders would say like, hey, that's a possibility. But if it did something, let's see, let me get my little path guy out here. If it does something like this, even if it does this a couple times and then goes like that, I feel like that's a decent possibility as well. But I can't tell you how many times I've also seen something held down 4 times, and on that 4th, 5th time it shoots through it and it just does this, and you never even get the back test.
Yeah. And then sometimes, like, from what I don't really use trend lines, but sometimes, like, from what I've seen, that previous lower high becomes the next support or resistance. That one right to the left. Yeah, that whole formation becomes like the next area and the next target, and then prices. Yeah, exactly, like something like that.
Well, you break it down trend line. I mean, you're basically looking for an equal high next. Yeah. Which, I mean, look at that. That's that 900 level. That would be beautiful.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely beautiful to get back up there.
Would you ever swing futures like this, or if you are swinging, you trade options?
So I do options for swing trades. I have a lot of traders that I trade with that do swing. I mean, it's a different scenario. Obviously, like with prop firms, they don't let you swing. There's only one I know of that has like a swing account right now. But if you trade your own funds, swinging futures can be a very profitable thing. It can be a very scary thing, very scary thing too, because of the drawdown. But yeah, I know people that swing, and that's kind of like, that's their entire approach, right? Is when you get a higher time frame pulls down like this, they scale into a position, and as it comes back up, they're obviously scaling out into this trend line. They'll scale out again here, and they'll shoot for all-time high.
Yeah.
And there's no time value, nothing to worry about on time value.
Yeah, which is so important. And I feel like genuinely, sometimes people that trade options, or a lot of new traders that come into the markets, they look at options, they see the big returns, they see the big percentages, 0 DTEs, whatever, like far out of the money, 0 DTEs, and they see, oh, you can make 1,000%, which is technically true, but what you don't really see is like the nightmare between each of those like 1,000% days. But when you have something like the time decay or like theta or like a drop in IV, it really kills your position. And that's something that I actually was dealing with this morning. Was IV kind of spikes up when there's a huge sell-off like this. And then now for me, I was trading QQQ, wait for a pop back up to 520.50-ish. I was looking for the short. Now, to be honest, I was like trying not to FOMO into the short, but waited for the break below 520, reclaim 520, get in short at 520.50, and just sat in consolidation. That pretty much like killed my position. I like trimmed half on the breaks down and then had to stop out. But when you see your position going from minus 15% to plus 15% and then back to minus 15%, like over and over again, and you're sitting in the 0 DTEs, it's really like a bad sign, because just the time decay is so brutal that you have to be right, and you have to be right practically immediately. And it's really important that like a new trader actually understands that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Try not to get distracted, but there's rumors of TikTok being saved and Meta's getting smoked here.
Where do you see this news? Where did you see this?
So I have a news squawker that plays in my ear all day, and then I'm actually on Spaces in my other ear, so I heard somebody on there mention it too.
You're like the magician, Jesus.
It's called ADHD, Andre. It's ADHD is what it is. It hindered me for a lot of my life in school, and you find a way to make it a little cheat code.
A strength. Yeah. Yeah. This is. I mean, there's no way it's going to get banned. Honestly, I mean, it would just be so outrageous.
If they shut it down this weekend, on Sunday, like, it's just a power play. But look at Meta. Meta is getting absolutely destroyed. Oh my gosh! Look at this.
I remember a few years ago when Meta was like when it broke 100. I remember thinking, the stock is cooked. Zuckerberg is cooked. That's it. Like, and I know they have a ton of users, but like the trust with like all the selling the information, and like pretty much like, I don't know what it was that actually caused that major drop off. But I remember thinking in that moment, like, it has so much more room down. As it broke 100 and as it was approaching 80, I was like, or 90, I was like, oh, it's got so much more room down. And I don't think I've ever been so wrong on a stock. This one is just one of the ones I had bought.
Isn't it crazy? Like, when you think about, some of these stocks that pulled back so hard, and it's like, you look at some of them, you go like, there's no way, like, I'm not touching that thing. Like, and that's when you're supposed to buy it, right? Like, that's what, especially when you start hearing all the narrative of like, and the opposite's true too. When everyone's rushing into a stock is when you should be selling it. Like, you have to go against the crowd a lot.
Yeah. What do you think about PayPal? If you look at that daily chart, this is one that like I go back and forth with. I personally, like, as a company, I hate PayPal because I think they screw over their users so much, like with the fees and with like locking your money and whatever else. So, like, personally, like, I hate PayPal, but I mean, the stock has gotten so smoked. Like, it doesn't look like a bad buy right now.
No, it really doesn't. PayPal is an interesting story, right? Because they had issues for a long time. But when you look at this just technically, right? So the first thing I look at is, I mean, look at this base and look at it's kind of curling here. You kind of have a curl on this weekly. And off of that base, I mean, all this consolidation, it can be like a springboard, right? Yeah. So like, you've reclaimed all these moving averages. And I mean, this looks like a flag almost in a way. But you have a huge volume shelf here for some. I mean, I think you could definitely take a shot at PayPal. Stocks at 90, like to go to 100. That's kind of an old Wall Street adage, right? That's I don't know. That's an interesting one. But PayPal, and then the story behind PayPal, I don't think PayPal's going anywhere. So like that was kind of my I'm long Uber right now, and that's kind of my I think Uber got unfairly beaten up here with like some of the robo-taxi and Waymo fears. But when something becomes a verb, I just don't think it goes away. Like, that's one of my just kind of fundamental thesis that I use. But PayPal, I mean, people use PayPal all the time, and it's integrated into a lot of things. If you sell like on eBay, if if you're sending money to somebody, especially if they're in another country or different, PayPal is just, it's big enough. Like, I get that crypto is a threat to them and some things like that, but still, it's I don't see PayPal going anywhere. I use PayPal all the time. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm kind of like you. I'm not a big fan of it. They take a big haircut. But I look back like at how much stuff I get through PayPal, and I look back at how much fees they they're taking off a nice haircut every time I get a payment through there.
Yeah.
They should be doing well as a business. The way I look at this, like, they're taking like what, 3% off of a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm considering looking into PayPal, like legitimately to start to accumulate a position on it, because as much as I hate it, I'm not in the business of like getting emotional about what stocks I buy. I'm more interested about the technicals and about like what you're saying, fundamentals, like PayPal's not going anywhere, which is obviously really important.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good cup right there. That's a monthly chart.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, not financial advice, right? But
No, but just ideas, right? I mean,
yeah,
I like that.
it's that's one that I've been looking at, and also cash is like going away. Cash is like practically gone. Like most of like the restaurants, most of like these little like cafes, most of the little shops, like they don't take cash anymore, which also obviously benefits PayPal.
Do you see what Bitcoin's doing right now, by the way?
Yeah, I know. It was at like, wasn't it at 90 like 3 days ago?
So like, I think it was like right in here. I said Bitcoin looks like it's going to drop 5K. And I think I posted it like right in this area,
Yeah,
and it like rejected where I wanted it to, and it came down 4. I was close. It came down like 4K from there, and then this liquidity sweep got bought out. I mean, look at this candle. This is a daily candle. Look how quick that just boom, and then immediately flipped that into support, and boom. I mean, that's. I think a lot of people that have traded crypto for a while, and I don't know if you've traded much crypto, but whenever, so like I did. Oh, we're finally getting the move I was looking for. There's VWAP. Ooh, orb low broke. But we looked at the stat while ago, Andre. I had it pulled up. This one right here. So I was on the 30-minute, and this is, the next candle. Oh, hold on. Let me get my. Yeah.
just to be clear with that single candle, what that means is that the candle that breaks the high, the same candle also has to break the low.
Right. So what I'm saying here, so in the next candle, so this right here, right? So the 30-minute candle, so the next 30 minutes is going to break one side or the other, right? That what?
Not going to break both.
Okay. Not going to break both. Yeah. So that's what I was saying. So we were looking at this, and I was saying, okay, let me get these drawings off here just to make it a little bit clearer. Make this just cleaner. So there's just the orb.
Yeah.
So we were right in here, and I said, okay, we got our orb here within the next 30 minutes, which is this candle, right now.
Yeah.
We have a 40 whatever it was it 47% chance that we break this side, or 47% chance to break this side. Only 4% chance that we double break.
Correct.
But we're essentially, and no breaks. This caught my eye too.
Yeah.
So like you were going to, after that first 30 minutes. So once you got to this candle, you were going to break this high or this low in the next 30 minutes. Like not pretty much 100%, honestly. I mean, the data says 0.00. So you're going to break it.
Yeah.
So and now that we have that broken to the bottom side, it'll be interesting. We are going to get our IB right here on this candle as well, that initial balance. But yeah, I was looking at this report because I was saying we should break one side or the other. I preferred the bottom side, and that's what we got here. We got VWAP right there on it. Now? Say it again.
You still short bias?
A little bit. It's tough. Like that's what I've been telling chat. Like, what do you do when you know you broke the trend line? I mean, that trend line is right there.
Yeah.
You broke the trend line. You're closing these candles above it still. You're wicking into it. I know it looks tiny to everyone, but there's a lot of I got a lot of stuff going on my chart. So, you broke this trend line and you're consolidating above it. Like, wouldn't this resolve to the upside? But at the same time, this move just seems so fishy to me. Like that seems like an SPX AM that, it's a Friday AM expiration on SPX. It just feels like they just ran SPX up. I mean, look what ES did. I mean, this is how often you see ES run like this. I mean,
it doesn't. I mean, it was just ridiculous with like no pullback at all this whole morning. I was looking at it from 6 a.m. to right up until the market opened. It was just like ripping all, which I was like, what's going on news that like wasn't that crucial.
No, there wasn't really any news. It was like, I think it was just the mechanics of all the dealer positioning on SPX this morning. That's what I think it was.
Yeah. It's a pretty wild markets. And for anyone who's trading options right now, I would say be careful if you are trading 0DTEs, because this is like the most, like, you're pretty much setting yourself up if you keep trying to, like, if you're tilting right now, just close your computer, because
this is walk away, go make some breakfast, go make some eggs, grab a bagel or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
This previous day high, I did talk about this earlier in the stream. I was looking for a bullish outside day to come back and touch that. The stats weren't super great, but I do think that was going to happen in this scenario just based on more context. Yeah. And we just got it. Like I know I mentioned that earlier in the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, Willa's in the chat right there. It's OPEX today. So yeah, so Andre, you have, it's not quad witching, but the leaps expire today. So that's what makes today such a big expiration. You have all the January leaps. So anybody that, a year ago or even last summer, last spring, went out to those January leaps, those are all expiring today. So they're rolling those positions, they're closing them out, they're exercising, whatever the scenario is. Yeah. So that's a big piece of what's going on here too.
Yeah. It's do you, when you trade, I mean, I know you trade options. Do you ever trade SPX?
Some, not as much. Like, I don't know. It's because, I mean, if I swing like really a long swing, I may throw a little bit on there. Like if I just see the market looks like a bullish market for like the next 3 months or 6 months or something, which I haven't had that confidence in probably a year at this point. Like, going back to a year ago or a little bit more, I was like, okay, I think, we seem to be building this AI theme into a bull market. Yeah. So I did take a little bit of longer shots, but I use the options more on individual names. Yeah. And then I trade the indices with futures. Like that's kind of my approach. And I don't know, you obviously with options, you can get the exponential returns, but you also have to deal with like the time. Like, I mean, this consolidation right here with short or long, if you long down here or if you short up here, either one, if you're in options right now, you're getting absolutely cooked.
Yeah.
Your premiums are getting cooked. Yeah.
That's really what was happening to me. I was like, okay, I'm done. Like break even today, whatever. I don't really care. And that one run up that happened right at, what is it, like 10:15 or whatever that is, that wick right above the midline of the orb. I stopped out right before that, like right on that green candle before that one. Yeah, right. I stopped out. Yeah, I was like, okay, whatever. Because, and I was actually messaging you. I was like, if this bounces again after it touches the orb,
I saw that. Yeah,
I'm done. I was like, this is enough is enough. I don't want to deal with it, especially on a Friday. I was trading 0DTEs, which I typically don't like to do. But
those 0DTEs, they get the old heart pumping sometimes. But they're you can go from up so much to like right back to break even, and just a matter of a shift or a big rejection at a certain level, and like everyone just woof.
Yeah, it's nuts. And how do you kind of figure out the different, you said you trade options on individual names. So like for me, I noticed that like I hated trading Apple options. I hated trading Microsoft options. They're like, for example, Netflix has the lowest volume of any big name I've ever seen on the options and on the actual name itself. Like on the actual stock, like the volume is so low. I don't even know how it moves the way it does, but the options are even worse. Like they don't really.
Have you ever noticed how trendy Netflix is? So Netflix is one of those, when Netflix gets going in a direction, it goes in a direction. Like just intraday. That's something I've noticed about Netflix.
Observation.
So like, Netflix just likes to go in a direction.
Yeah.
Like right here, it sold off hard, and then like you see just like for like the rest of the day, it trends really hard a lot of times.
I think it's because the volume on the actual options isn't there, or at least is not like obviously like a SPY or a Tesla or an Nvidia. It's just so much more difficult to trade for me, at least, because I don't like when price is moving in a certain direction and the options don't follow. That's something for me. I'm like, I don't really like that.
Yeah, I don't know, it's a tough one. See, that's why day trading, I think that's where I found my sweet spot is day trading futures and my options. I'm looking 3 months out or 6 months out now. I used to trade options I'd be in zero DTs today on Nvidia and Microsoft. Apple, you mentioned Apple. Apple's a tough one just because Apple doesn't move a whole lot.
Yeah, exactly. And I know a lot of people trade. Oh, thank you.
This one's funny. You sent too many emails. I just messing with you a little bit there. I like that. There you go. 49's doing it the right way. Get you a cheap eval to scratch that itch today.
Yeah, true. It's
Instead of losing money in your portfolio, just grab a cheap eval account and blow that instead. I like that approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, what were you saying about? I think we were talking about Apple.
Yeah, Apple. I mean, it doesn't move that well, but people love. I know I see a lot of people trading Apple options. Same thing with Microsoft. Same thing with like Netflix. Same thing with Google. Same thing. Amazon used to move a lot better. Like a few years ago, the options used to move a lot better. But everything across the board, like I don't personally. I think that Tesla, Nvidia, SPY are like, for me, that's my sweet spot. Yeah. But this consolidation.
See, Apple. Well, yesterday, so we talked about this earlier. One of the guys in the chat was looking at Apple calls today, and we had the tough thing is it was a big outsized move yesterday. Yeah. When's the last time you saw Apple move 4%? I mean, this was absolutely disgusting yesterday on Apple. Yeah. I expect some type of inside day. I would say, yeah. Even if you tested down here somewhere, I think you long. But the problem is, you're probably only going back up to here, previous week's low. I turn this one off. I mean, this would be your target, right? Try to get back to the previous week's low.
Yeah.
But that's tough. But Apple just doesn't move much. And I think that's why it is a flight to safety. You will notice a lot of times when the market is like a little bit nervous, you see like them selling maybe Nvidia, some high beta names, and jumping over into Apple. Like you see that a lot. Yeah. Apple just doesn't like to move. Isn't it funny how some names do move way more than others? What report could I look at on Edgeful that would show me which names maybe are more volatile? Or do y'all have? It seems like y'all have something already that would show that, but
comparing to each other, I don't know if we have something, but we do have one that shows how often
you can share your screen too if you want to share your screen at any point.
I'll show you. The only one that comes to mind really in terms of volatility is going to be the ATR one. Let me share my screen. I'll show you. One sec. So, can you see this okay?
Yeah, perfect.
So, the way that I think about volatility, obviously, is it's tough. Everyone has a different definition, but in terms of ATR, so for those of you who don't know, ATR is the average true range. You could think about this like roughly in terms of how much does the stock move from the high to low of the day. So for SPY, it's roughly the 14-day ATR. So what this does is it takes the average of the ATR the last 14 days, and that's right now it's like 740 roughly. But you can see that 70% of the time, SPY is going to respect that. And then one thing that I think is really important to do is to go by weekday. So to see if certain weekdays behave differently. So obviously Mondays here, 84% of the time they're going to stay within that ATR. So you don't want to expect price to move to like have a massive day on a Monday, which I guess is kind of answering your question in terms of volatility.
Yeah.
And then you go through some of the other weekdays and you can see how they behave. So like some of them move more than others, but Mondays is definitely the one that's gonna be more compressed. But then I guess if we go to a Tesla here and we look, now it's pretty similar in terms of 67%. The ATR right now is 23 or just close to 24 on Tesla. But in terms of a report around volatility, I mean, this is actually pretty different from SPY because Wednesdays are the days that actually stay within the range the most at over 75%, whereas a Monday is a little bit less. So I don't know if we have something about just volatility itself. Maybe we can build something.
Yeah, that was kind of where I was going to go with that too. I was like, okay, if y'all don't have something like that, I would wonder like which stocks have the best, like what's like an intraday volatility type of.
Yeah, I don't know. There's one that we have, this one, which is the range to ATR, which shows how, on average, how much is price going to move relative to the ATR. So for example, I don't know if this is kind of small, but for example, if ATR is, let's just say $100, in this case, you can see Tesla will move just around $90 on any given day, on average.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to take your profits, that $90 mark in terms of the total range is really where you want to start to take at least the majority of your profits. But yeah, we should probably build something around the volatility around certain names.
Yeah, it would be nice to know, like, especially for the options guys, which tickers have like a higher ratio of intraday move, whether it's up or down, either one. Like which ones have higher volatility to them. I don't know, just some thoughts. Anytime I have you on here, I love to pick your brain at some stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
We're getting very choppy, by the way. The video just made a new high.
I'm so happy I closed that position.
Yeah. Once it hit, and I was watching that trend line, 3 tests on the back test, and I kind of mentioned this earlier on the stream when those bottom wicks starting to hit and that previous day high getting tested. I just had a feeling that was gonna be kind of like our target. I mean, we looked at the gap fill. I know you love that gap fill like I do. We talk about this every time. I looked at that gap. I saw the size of it and immediately said, we're not looking for that.
Exactly.
If you are short, you're looking for previous day high as your main target.
Yep.
If you're lucky, maybe you get a little bit more than that. And that's all we got. I mean, look at that previous day high of QQQ. It literally wicked into it finally and turned back around.
This is where I trimmed right here. I entered right around here, right at 520.50, right around this area. I was like adding in right around here, then was in decent drawdown, and then immediately price came into my favor. Obviously, I trimmed not enough right around here. I had just under half my position and then just closed it right around this area here. I was like, I'm done. I don't like, and I literally sent it to you. I was like, if this bounces, I'm done.
Yeah, no, and that's the approach, and I think that's what a lot of traders struggle with is where do you take profit and where do you get back out of a trade? And having that of like, okay, look, if this bounces again, I'm out. Especially with options because you do have that time value that's going against you. But at the same time, like it's tough because you're like, maybe it hasn't invalidated my thesis just yet, but when you get kind of a main target, you're like, okay. Plus the context here, we were in an uptrend, all night long. We're counter trend trading that. I mean, are we looking for a massive reversal, or are we just trying to take some profit on a counter trend trade that's overbought?
Yeah.
That was kind of the context I had too. That's why I was trimming aggressively all the way down to that trend line. Yeah. Once we got it, I was like, okay, I'll leave one little runner is all I left. It was a tenth of my original trade that I was still in that I got stopped out of, which, I mean, and that's one thing with Edgeful that has helped me so much. And like, I sent you this privately, but I'll say it, here publicly, like I capture so much more, like, thank you for building this product because I capture so much more profit now. I mean, I posted yesterday, across my 2 main accounts that I trade, my funded accounts, I've had 1 red day out of those 2 accounts. One of them hadn't had a red day at all. I've taken 2 payouts already this year. And a lot of that is like, not to brag on myself, this isn't like a blow my own horn thing, but it's, building a consistency. But a lot of that has to do with Edgeful, and I'm not just, it is what it is. I've found ways to capture profit, and I've found ways to stay away from terrible trades. We talked about, I sent you that tweet I sent out the other day. We're above previous day's high and everything, and I'm going, okay, we should close even with CPI and all that stuff going on. We should still close like break even. I mean, there's an 80% chance we have a green day. Yeah, at that point we were down pretty ugly.
Where was that? Oh, that was this day right here, I think.
Yeah, it was that day right there. Yeah. We were down near that low. I had some support there, and I was looking at it going, we should come back, and we did it twice. Like I did not expect that second drop, and we still came back and saved it. So like the data still held in. And I always tell people, like, if you look at the report for when previous day high is broken, especially like I use QQQ the most. If you look at QQQ on this, you'll notice that previous day high. What's the stat up to? 79.
70 right here is 70%, and then here is 73%.
70%
in the last 6 months.
Yeah. So whenever that happens, I'm going, okay, there's a strong number here that says we're going to close green. And if we don't close green.
And then the customization you have on, which I'll explain in a second, but continue, it is on 79 and then 83.
Okay. So that's where, that's the one I have on. What was the customization? What's that for? I don't know.
So one of the, I'll actually explain it, which is, it's pretty important for people to understand. So, okay. Equities, whenever you hear on CNBC, whenever you hear on anywhere, this stock is up X percent, it is always, so even on TradingView right here. So let me just actually, even on TradingView, you see on this top left corner where it says plus 1.5%, 1.49%?
Yes.
For everyone watching, that is always, so now I'm going to show you how this is calculated. It's always from the previous close to this open.
Yes.
So in this case, it's up 1.4% from the previous close. So this considers the gaps. So if there's a huge gap, it's obviously going to be considered. However, if you look from the open of today, it's actually down 0.4%. So one thing to note, and this is for equities, and we also have the customization for futures too, but I mean, we have it so you can pretty much like focus on whatever is specific to you. And honestly, whatever you like to trade, because either way, you can just reference a different point. But when you look at the previous close, the close customization, you're saying for every time, I mean, this is a pretty obvious example. I mean, let's look at the other day. So in this case, if you're using the previous close to close calculation, it actually, you can see here, obviously price broke previous day's high, did not break previous day's low, but it closed above the previous day's high.
Yeah.
Which means that it was actually green when you use the previous close as the metric of is today
previous close. So that's the one I'm always using. So for anybody that follows my videos or follows I use that because I'm looking at, and I do it the same with the gap fill. I'm looking at the close. I don't care what the overnight gap is as much. I'll look at it, but I'm going from where did price close yesterday? Like, there's after hours, there's pre-market trading, there's different opinions on those, but I'm just saying cash session, New York session, where did we close yesterday? What are the stats? And the interesting thing, I'll add one piece here. Whenever we do close, like in the 20% of the time where it's not in the, what do you call it? It's outside of the probability. So if it's 80% of the time that we're gonna have a green close and 20% of the time it's not, when it is in that 20%, where we do still have like a red close, for example, it's usually by, this much. This much. And I've noticed that like a couple of examples I found where I was like, okay, here's an example of the 20% of the time where this data doesn't, hold true, or this thesis doesn't hold true. But what am I actually looking at? Okay, it's down a tenth of a percent instead of closing green. It closed a tenth of a percent. It's not like it's closing a percent green. It's not like it's way off. It's still like you can take, use your analytical brain a little bit and go a little bit further with that stat. But this day, I used this report. I had a big day, and the funny thing is, I longed the same trade twice. I didn't get the short at all.
Oh, really?
I was short, I think, a little bit earlier in the day and closed everything out. And I just waited and waited and waited. And then I picked a level I liked right in that area. I got long there. I took it back up. I closed right at, if you go to NQ, it was right at 21. It was right at a whole number. Is it 21K? Yeah. So I closed right there. I was actually in a space talking about earnings or something else, and I look over and I see like just this massive waterfall. I'm like, what is going on? And then I actually longed it again on the back half of the day because I was like, the probability still says we should come square back off and close up there. So I took two long trades on this wild day, that both paid off really nicely, all because of that report that says, hey, when you've broken the previous day's range to the upside, you're going to have an 80% chance of a green close. 80% chance. Like 8 out of 10 times, I'm going to take that swing every single time. Like that is a fastball. It's a 3-2 fastball right down the middle. I'm swinging at it. I'm trying to hit it out of the park every single time.
Exactly. And there are things where you can see this 80%. And I know that, for example, next time this happens, someone watching is going to take this trade, and let's just say that day is going to fall into this category where it's a red day, and they're going to be like, this doesn't work, whatever. The whole point of it is when you see this 80%, your mind kind of locks in on the 80, and you're like, oh, it's a lock. We're good. Like, it's a lock. Like, this is going to happen. There's such a high probability. But like, by definition, if something happens 80% of the time, it means it's not going to happen 20% of the time. So don't like full port your account on one trade expecting it to work. Just
never full port your account. Let's make that clear. Never full port your account. But if you think about like what you're saying, if you take this trade 10 times, your probability is that 8 times it's going to work out.
Exactly. So just make sure
that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, make sure you can take it 10 times so that you get the 8 times for it to work out. You should be able to take, a handful of losses in a row and not blow your account. Like you should be setting up your risk management that way anyway as a trader. But I think this is such a strong stat. This is one of the main ones I go to every single day. Yeah. And I tell you, before you hear people talk about, previous day high or previous day low, and it's like, okay, that's great. It's something to watch. But this takes it just such a step. I mean, a whole floor higher. I don't even want to say a step higher. This takes it to the next floor. You're going a whole level up here because now you have strong stats to put behind it. When you see that we broke the previous day low, and it doesn't matter. You can trade both ways, right? So like that example of that day, you could trade short on that day, but you need to know if you were trading short in the morning, as we got down into the red territory, you should have been closing out of position because there is a high chance of reversal based on that statistic. And in my opinion, I read that as we're coming down in the morning towards that noon time. If I'm in shorts, I'm closing out of shorts. Like I'm out. Sure. Like I'm not going to keep leaving runners, or I'm not going to keep shorting pops at that point because the previous day high was broken. The statistics, and you go back 6 months, I mean, that's a strong amount of data. Now, how many times did it happen? I think it was like 67 times or something.
67 times, 53 of the 67 closed green.
There you go. So think about that. If you take 67 times you take this trade, 53 of those are going to be green. You're going to be a winning trade 53 out of 67. There's your 80. Your 80%.
And then
that's a strong stat.
Previous day's low too. Same thing in terms of 52 times total. 43 of the 52 closed red. This is like such a layup concept. So I'll answer that question in terms of changing the date range. So I'll just kind of talk about this kind of high level. So the date ranges go back up to 5 years. Personally, you can do whatever you want. This is you can use your discretion. Personally, I think 5 years is too far back if you're day trading. Because the markets now don't move the way that they did before COVID, or before the 2020 election, or the bull run of COVID, or the bear market that came between COVID and now. And then now the run up again, and the new election. That there's like at minimum 3 to 5 different market environments in this 5 year period, at minimum. And when you look at the data that far back, what happens is you get so many different market environments that are skewing the data that is not reflective of what's actually happening now. So the highest time that I recommend going to is 1 year. And then that 1 year gives you obviously the most amount of data, but it also is, for the most part, relevant data. And then the 6 month, and the reason that we default to the 6 month is because it's the perfect sweet spot between enough data and the relevant market environment. And then the final thing that I recommend, and I don't really recommend going shorter than this, but is the 3 month. 3 month is obviously the least amount of data, but it shows you the really recent trend. Like, has something changed drastically in the last 3 months?
Yes.
That might kind of like raise the flag to the 6 month and the 1 year.
Yeah, let me piggyback off that. So like I use it exactly how you just said it. I love 6 months.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'll do year to date. So like
yeah,
when we're now right now year to date obviously is not very we're at 17 days. I'm not using it right now. But
yeah,
like when we were in August or September, that 9 month time frame, I would go there sometimes. Sometimes I go back a year, kind of depending on the scenario.
yeah.
And to take it one step further, because I want to know what's the current market conditions. I think that's kind of
Exactly.
the way you were putting it there. I want to know what's it acting like right now in the last X amount of time, the last half of a year. I think is
Yeah,
a good spot to look. This is how it's behaving, and you can also compare it too. So like I'll compare. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, a year, like the last year of data looks like this, but the last 3 months looks like this. And I can watch changes in that too. You can watch changes in volume. You can watch changes in
exactly.
the ranges. So like instead of watching, there's a volume and range report for
Yeah,
NQ that I really like on NQ. If you want to jump over to
yeah.
the
Thank
futures
you.
real fast, there's a volume and range report right there. And I like to see, okay, each day, what is the average range that we have in, I do it in points instead of percentage, just because
Yeah,
it's easy to use the measuring tool.
yeah,
So like right there, I'm looking at that and I see, 200, 300 point range. Now, okay, is that what we're getting? That's the last 6 months. What are we getting right now in the last 3 months? What was it a year ago? It's different, right? And is it changing drastically?
yeah,
So like right now, you go back to the last 3 months, it looks a little bit lower. You go to the
yeah,
last 6 months, you can tell volatility expanded for a while and now it's contracting a little bit. The ranges are getting a little bit smaller. And I
yeah.
bet if you went even smaller down, if you went down like a month, I bet it's probably even higher. Yeah,
Yeah,
look at that. We've had a ton of volatility over the last month. So I kind
yeah,
of look at that just sometimes when I'm painting a picture in my head or like what are my conditions right now. I will look at the different time frames just to see what are we doing now compared to what we did on average over the last 3 to 6
yeah.
months. Right now,
Super
obviously, you
important.
can tell this last month we are exceeding averages for the last 3 months, the last 6 months, last year.
Yeah,
We're exceeding those averages big time. So that's something I do like to look at a lot as well.
yeah. You know what that kind of just sparked an idea for? What if we could? Um, it does make
There you go,
sense.
OP King. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
and trust me, OP King, you dive into Edgeful and start putting some of these stats behind your trades, like you'll see you're still going to have some of your same trading strategies and setups, but when you put the data behind it, you're going to stay out of bad trades. You're
Yeah,
going to feel more confident in good trades, and you're gonna have more reasonable price targets. Those are the three things I
yeah.
tell everybody that try this out. It's
100%.
reasonable. When you're in a counter trend trade, and instead of looking for the home run shot, you're like, I need to start taking profit now. Like, I don't need a 200 point trade here. I need a 50 point trade here, based
Yeah,
on whatever scenario it is.
yeah.
But yeah, you're saying it sparked an idea in your head.
What I was going to say was, what if we had not three different charts, but let's say within this graph we had the blue bar. Like, let's just say there was three different bars for Monday. The blue bar would be the 1 year. Let's just say a red bar would be for the 6 month stats, and then like whatever, a yellow bar would be for the 3 month. Then you can see
You could
in
see
the same chart
the difference.
the difference between each of these, the 1 year, the 6 month, and the 3 month, literally side by side to see, okay, is there a big discrepancy or are they kind of falling in line? What do you
Yeah,
think about that?
that would be cool on several reports. I feel like
Yeah,
if you could compare multiple time frames. I'm trying to think of a quick example, like even
even
like
the gap,
your
or you just make range.
seasonality or your range. Maybe you're like green and red by weekday type of thing,
Yeah,
like the when you're looking at like trend analysis or recent performance.
yeah,
If you compared like, okay, what's it doing the last 3 months compared to a year ago compared to the last month or whatever, and see like right now, over the last, we're seeing a change, because that's the other thing I want to spot is, if I was trading and I know that, hey, Mondays and Fridays have been fantastic. Look at that. Friday's fantastic. Monday's fantastic on that
yeah,
report. But where is it the strongest? And is there a common denominator? Is Friday the strongest no matter what time frame you look at, even though maybe the last couple months it's been Mondays and the last 6 months it's been Tuesdays, but then if you
Yeah.
look and you say, well, Friday is consistent over the last year.
Exactly. That's the important.
That would
piece
be an
of it.
interesting thing to quantify there.
We'll have to figure out how to put that in here, like in a decent manner. But yeah, it's an interesting thought. And then another thing that a lot of people have asked for is, thank you, Kyle. Love to hear that. That's the whole point. That's why we do this. That is the exact point. I love to hear that. That's why we built this, by the way. So, I mean, I'm sure if anyone has watched any videos of mine, you know that this was built for me, by a trader for a trader. And it's become this thing where I know that people aren't really analytically like experienced. They don't have too much analytic experience. Like a lot of people are not analysts, but they're very interested in trading. But trading requires a lot of analytics, and like a lot of people just don't know how to go about getting the data, like parsing through the data, understanding the data, updating it, making sure that it's correct, everything else. And that's where Edgeful comes in, where you can literally just like open it up, go to your favorite ticker, and then go to your favorite report, and now you have like all the recent and relevant information that you need to be trading with data on your side. That's like the most important thing. Is it's very quick, it's very easy. You don't need to be a PhD to figure it out. And you just open it up and like, there it is. Like there are the results right there.
Andre, can we get any data on moon cycles? Can we get the astrological charts? Can we get that? Can we get data on that maybe one of these days? You know, it's a funny thing. We actually joke about this quite often, but there are some like, there's actual trading view indicators people have built that are based off of the moon cycles. Have you never looked at it?
I've never looked at it. What are they called?
Go to a daily chart. Just go to a daily chart, and you can do QQQ, you can do Bitcoin, whatever. Go to indicators, just type in moon cycles.
No way. What? What is it supposed to be?
Full moon, you buy the dip. New moon, you sell.
I mean, that's pretty good, honestly, right here.
Look at the full moon. This is blowing your mind right now. I've looked at this jokingly for a while, and look where the full moon was at the bottom.
Yeah. Maybe we should build a report around this.
Around
kind
moon
of as a
cycles.
joke, kind of not really.
Look, this is what I'm saying. Mike Jr.'s on it. Sounds crazy, but there might be a correlation. And you know, there is something weird about it. Ask a nurse, ask an ER doctor or a nurse, or somebody that works at a bank. I used to work at a bank. Like crazy things happen on full moons every time.
Look at this too. And this one, I mean, this is a great buy too, even after a nice little run up.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. So should we build something or what?
Maybe we should build something for moon cycles.
Yeah.
You get some free time. I know you don't have a whole lot of free time, but next time you get some free time, you just dive into it a little bit. Yeah. Maybe if it's maybe we throw some fun reports on Edgeful too.
Maybe we start talking about like the sea level and everything else.
Yeah. What's is Mars and Jupiter aligned right now? Yeah. Like all right, we got a question from Kyle here on future development.
That's our VWAP levels. I use VWAP +1. Okay. So I was recently on a call about this, and I want to show kind of all.
I use the same thing on my chart all day. I have VWAP and the one and the +1 extension band. So just the normal VWAP. It's literally just called VWAP. And then I have like that right there, +1 band on each side.
Okay, so the difficult piece, or what we can do, and then this is +1, right? Not +2. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to make the +2 red just so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay. All right, so one of the things that is a little bit difficult is that it would have to be, unless we're looking on the daily time frame, so instead of having to filter for that New York session, looking at the daily time frame, because the VWAP would be technically continuous. Like, I mean, this VWAP is technically continuous, kind of like if you consider this like the actual daily close. But my thought process is, in this case, like today, let's use today as an example. This is a decent example. So it touches the +1 band. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, I guess whatever. We can figure out how these will go because they're above. But it did touch 10 times. Now, what would you want the report to measure?
My thought would be like time spent inside or outside of it would be an interesting something along those lines, because like for me, anytime we get outside of those outer VWAP bands, if we have a strong trend day, sometimes it'll support on top of a one deviation band. Yeah. But a lot of times, like once you accept back into it, you just stay in it, and like it starts to act as resistance, because it seems like a natural kind of like almost like a Bollinger Band type of scenario where like, hey, you're too far away from average price right now, and it starts to like act as like hey, let me push you back in the box a little bit. Yeah, exactly. So I'm just wondering, like, if like, hey, we've spent this much time out of it, we should revert back into it. And
when you
that
say
type of thing, it's kind of like I've also mentioned to you, like when we get a certain distance, like if we get, on a 5-minute chart, if we get 1% above an EMA or something, like you usually get some kind of snapback.
Yeah. So when you're saying time spent outside, now I'm thinking about, my brain is going to, okay, we're going to build a report. How are we going to do it?
What's the if then? The if then.
Is it the whole candle has to be outside? Is it just it has to close outside? Like in this case, these four, let's just say these 4 candles are outside right here, these 4. But then are these outside? If they wicked back in, are they outside?
Yeah, I think you'd have to define like candle closes, maybe like a full candle body.
What I'm thinking about is, what if we said on any given day, how often will price touch either the +1, the -1, the -2, and the +2? So like in this case, it would say
that too.
It did touch the +1, the -1, and the.
If you ever touch a -2, I bet the stats are so low that you touch the +2.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where my head is going, because it's a little bit more.
So look at that. You touched the +2 up there, and you came back down to the -1, but you didn't get to the -2.
Yeah, and then if we look, I mean, I would assume, I don't know obviously, but I would assume, oh, here's a day. But I think this range was actually really small. Yeah.
What day was that?
It was okay. It was on ES. Let's look at NQ. I'm a little bit more familiar with the recent ranges on NQ. But typically, okay, here. Oh, this day didn't touch both, but it was, I guess it was a smaller day this day. But what do you think about that?
What day was that?
This is
January.
Monday the 8th.
The 8th?
This looks like a nightmare to trade.
I'm trying to remember what happened that day.
I mean, it doesn't look like it's anything FOMC related. Was it FOMC? No, right?
No. Wednesday the 8th. We had a major sell-off on that Tuesday, so that was an inside, or it was.
Oh yeah.
It went slightly lower, but you had a massive down day the day before, so it was a consolidation day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the day we broke the previous. I remember that we broke the previous day's low, and so I just stayed away from longs.
Yeah. And there's that report again. Previous day's range.
I literally, like, if I could, when I go to edgeful.com, if I could just open edgeful.com/previous day's report, previous day's range, that would just land on that page, to be honest, if I could.
The new upgrade is actually, the new site is coming out next weekend. So it'll be next Saturday, next Sunday. And what's going to be really nice is that you're going to be able to have your bookmarks, instead of having it in this like favorites area, you're going to have it right in your sidebar. So then you can just instantly switch from like Bitcoin to the ES to QQQ to whatever, and you're going to have a watch list too, so you can switch like very simple. I'll just show you quick. I know I've shown you this before, but I'll show you quickly. Give me 1 second.
What Kyle's saying here too,
really nice.
Before I lose my thought on what Kyle's saying here too, I trade the VWAP like this. If we are outside of like the +1 or -1, and we fall back inside of it, I look for it to traverse to VWAP next. So like right there, we fell inside of it. I look for VWAP. You see, we got to bounce at VWAP. If we lose VWAP, then I look for it to go to the lower band. Kind of like the same with orb. If you lose an orb high, I look for that midpoint. If we lose that midpoint, I look for orb low. I look for it to traverse that range. So it's kind of something along this lines. I don't ever trade NKD, but yeah, you get out. You reject it. If we're outside of it or we reject it, I look for it to come back to VWAP. If we lose VWAP, I look for it to traverse to the plus or the -1 after the +1. It's just traversing ranges is what I look for in that report. So just to
it would be actually interesting to see how, like, if we can build out how often does it touch? Are you good?
Yeah. I hit my knee and knocked my phone off, all kinds of stuff. Sorry, my bad.
No worries. If we build something, how often does it touch each of them, including the 2? Because I mean, I don't even know if there is a 3 or if it even touches the 3 ever. I mean, I doubt it. Oh, it did touch the 3 here, but okay. So maybe we include the 3.
Yeah, it's rare, but it happens. I've seen it.
Yeah, and we say how often does it touch? At some point, each of the ones. So like the orb by levels report a little bit.
Yeah.
If we do the orb by levels, but instead of the levels, like instead of this.
Yeah. How often do you ever get to and that's good for mitigating price targets too. Like as you're trimming out of a position, if you got long at the -1, you trimmed out some at VWAP, you get to the +1, you're trimming out again, and you look at your stats and say, okay, I came off the -1. What's the chance I get to a +2? Like it is different because instead of like a set level, it is a moving. Yeah. But I feel like with an indicator, you could pick up I feel like you could pick up some type of formula that would.
Well, I mean, that's something that we need to figure out.
Calculate if you hit that level or not.
Yeah, this is something. Are you there? Are you freezing? Am I freezing? My Wi-Fi good?
I don't know which one of us froze up. Somebody froze up, but we're good.
I think we're good now. I can hear you, but
yeah, we're back.
We're back. So yeah, and with this report, we added something. I'm not sure if any. It might be with the IB actually. Yeah, the IB by levels. So yeah, we need to add this for the orb too, but we added a filter that allows you to say, I only want to look at breakout days, or I only want to look at breakdown days on the orb by levels. And I think that we can do the same here, where you can just see how often did it only touch 1 or more, or how often did it touch whatever. Good. Again, Kyle, love to hear that.
Kyle, me too. I thought it like I paid attention to the midpoint of the orb before Edgeful, and actually I told Andre, I want that line added to if we can. Yeah. But beyond that, like I've looked at like, okay, well the previous week's range was this, so like an hour, if we move that range again to the upside or downside, but I never really thought about it like on an intraday basis with the orb. Like if the orb is 100 points, like we should look for 50 points or 100 points above that on a breakout or a breakdown. Yeah. So yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, and the one thing that I'll say for anyone who doesn't have our indicators, they're part of the subscription, but the orb by levels indicator will make your life so much easier to understand what the levels are. So I'm just going to put it on right here, and then you're going to see. Just give it a second to load. Give it a sec. Oh, there it is. Okay, so then now you will automatically have all the levels plotted for you instead of using. I know that some people use the fib tool and they mark the extensions, but there's a really big flaw with that where depending on the direction that you plot the fib, this is the 1 and this is the 0. So then now this becomes a 0.5, and then now you need to reference the 1.5. Like it's a weird.
It can only go one direction.
Exactly. So that's why we built this indicator, so it like will automatically plot for you, and then also you can set it to more days back. So I can put it to 50 days back.
Yeah, if you go back and look at an example from a previous day, you'll see like it really respects these levels a lot. Because if your range was, like I was saying earlier on NQ, if your range was a 100-point orb and you break out of it, the next spot to look is 50, a 0.5, so 50 points outside. And instead of trying to calculate that or measure it, an indicator that just throws it on my chart is awesome.
Yeah, and all the indicators that we have are just for everyone. All the indicators that we have are not based on like buy or sell signals. They're all just to make your life easier. Like the orb buy levels, like this blue box that we have, the market sessions, like you can automatically plot out your Tokyo, your London, your New York session, etc. And then you can see that, why did it go away? You can see that it will plot out all your sessions for you. So whether you're trading the market session breakout, market session correlation, you're trading whatever, we have a report for, we have an indicator for it. We have almost an indicator for every report. So we're trying to obviously build them all out. And then we're also going to be building them for NinjaTrader too. So I know a lot of people use NinjaTrader, and we're going to convert all these to be NinjaTrader also.
I had a conversation with a guy from NinjaTrader the other day about some stuff. And they said that they're really working on their platform on getting more stuff in there, which I guess they're mixed with Tradeovate now. I don't know which one merged with which one, but they're the same.
NinjaTrader bought Tradeovate.
Same entity. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And I know they're trying to really improve their platform. I like NinjaTrader. Honestly, it's not bad. The desktop version I think is a pretty solid application. And being able to get these indicators across other platforms would be great too. I mean, I live on TradingView personally, so it's not a huge thing for me, but I know a lot of the traders I trade with or work with or try to help out. They like NinjaTrader and stuff as well. I will say this: that market sessions correlation that you were just showing, or just the different market sessions.
Yeah.
For those of you that listen to us on Spaces, Frank, who former institutional guy that worked at Wall Street, ran some funds, worked on the floor for years. He's got over 20 something years that he worked over there. He loves this. He talks to me about this, so it's not something like I look at every single day, but it's nice that like when you trade with somebody else that uses Edgeful too, and they're like, hey, I see this one, or some of the guys in the chat, they're like, hey, look at the orb here, look at the IV instead of the orb, and it'll catch something. So it's fun trading with other people that are also using Edgeful. But Frank, when you jog my memory, those that know Frank, we all love Frank the Tank. We all love him. But he loves looking at the London session compared to the New York session and seeing which side breaks, or if there's a certain trend analysis that you can look at from overnight. That and there's obviously there's reports, but the breakout report, so he puts this on my radar. So it's not only am I looking at a lot of Edgeful stuff, but I have like other traders around me now that are using Edgeful that are throwing those little like nuggets of information in there. So we're, as a team, we're starting to build some nice, strategies and stuff, like using, because I'm already trying to put gap fill with previous day. I'm putting, an orb, I'm putting 3 or 4 things together into my thesis, right? My bias, my data bias, which is my new slogan, right? Biases are good. Build them on data. Yeah. Biases are bad when you have emotions or whatever. Everyone tells you bias is bad. I'm changing that in 2025. I'm saying bias is good if you have the right things behind it. If you have quantifiable data, from Edgeful would be the preference, obviously. Quantifiable data behind your bias. Who else is doing this? I don't even think you guys have competition. To be 100% honest. I haven't seen any product even similar to this. Somebody's going to try to copy you at some point, but they're going to be so far behind. Yeah, but as more people see this, I don't see how somebody doesn't try, which I think that's a compliment. I think you should take that as a compliment.
It's totally okay. I'm totally fine with it. Trust me, I'm almost equally as shocked as you are that nobody's done this. But you don't really have too many outlets to go to find data in the trading space.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a novel idea created by a trader for traders. So I love that. Absolutely love that. But that was an interesting one that old Frank the Tank put on put on our
And these are
radar.
all customizable. I mean, I know you know this, but they're all customizable. So you can change your London start and end times. Like, let's say you don't like the overlap of London and New York, you can change the London close to be at the start of the New York Open. Now you can see how that, like, they'll automatically change for you. So some people like to say, okay, this is my New York session now starting. Everything that we have is customizable, from the indicators to the reports to also the requests. So you can also make a custom report request right here. So if we don't have a report that you want to look at, or some concept or some strategy, you can actually click right here and submit a ticket for us to build something for you.
Yeah.
That's
Good reminder to everyone. And I've said this on previous streams, but most of the reports you guys have, I think at this point, were requested now. Like at first it was like some of your ideas, which the best ones may have been your ideas, if I have to say that. Some of the original ones, the gap fill ones, some of those. But as more and more reports come, I find some other ones I really like, and most of them are like crowdsourced, I guess, at this point. User sourced. And so
exactly.
If you have something, and all it has to be is something quantifiable, right? An if-then type of statement. We kind of went through that process a few minutes ago. But if we have, any of you guys that are using Edgeful or wanting to use Edgeful, and you have some type of strategy that you use in your daily trading that you want the data behind, hit that request button, send it over to Andre. He'll get it to the team, and if it can be built, they'll build it. And the turnaround time, I was shocked by your turnaround time. I was thinking, if I request you to build something, like, okay, it goes in line, maybe in a month you get to it, and I get it back in a month and a half, and that's not the case, right? What's the turnaround time?
Yeah, usually it's going to be around 2 weeks. In the last month or so, it has been just a little bit longer, because we're actually redesigning the entire site to look like this. So there's going to be a huge upgrade, which is going to be a lot cleaner. Everything is going to be a lot better. You're going to have all your bookmarks, like all your favorite reports will be on the side. You'll be able to instantly switch between any ticker, whether it's across different assets, across different report types. You'll be able to favorite everything. The what's in plays will be, all the what's in play will be on the actual report pages too. So as you're kind of like exploring everything, it'll be involved right at the top. So you always have it. You don't have to leave the page to go there. But that's why, so apologies if we have been a little bit slow on the releases, but that's why we have been a little bit slower. But typically,
you're building out 2.0.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to put some resources there too.
Exactly. So then, it's typically going to be around 2 weeks. We can also build out, which you can see right below that, custom trading view indicators for you too. So of the 30 plus reports that we have, indicators that we have here, I mean, it's probably more than 30 now, but of the 30 something we have, you can also request, hey, I want to see for whatever, this and that, can you build an indicator for it? One thing to keep in mind, we're not going to build an indicator with a buy or sell signal, obviously. So, yeah.
Looking back at the markets, I know we're a little bit over the actual time. It's not a big deal. I'm fine. I'm loving this conversation. Go to your SPY chart.
Yeah.
SPY just made a new high of day, actually. NQ and QQQ are still just slow grind up, but it didn't go any lower, so that's good. But go to your SPY and look at that order by levels, which I use a 30-minute, but that order by levels we were just talking about a few minutes ago, I use the 30-minute. It's my favorite.
This is also going to be customizable, so you can change the end time of the opening range to be that 10 a.m.
Yeah, so that's what I do. Just for everyone that's curious, that's what I do. I look at that, and then I also, if I want to see what IB looks like, instead of throwing another indicator on there, I just change that to an hour, and you get the IB one too. So like either one. But if you look at this, zoom in a little bit, and look at that 0.5 extension. What time frame are you on? About a 5 minute? Are you on SPY?
Yeah. Right over here. And this is on the,
Wait, mine looks different.
Right now. What do you want it to be on the?
Go back to 30-minute.
Yeah, I figured.
There we go. Look where we stopped for like 3 candles.
Yeah, right at the 0.5.
Yeah, and now look, we'll see if we hit that one, and watch there'll be like either a pause or rejection there. Yeah. If you're following along, if you have the indicators, if you're an Edgeful user, just take a look at that order by levels. I really like that.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kyle. I almost called him Tyler. I guess I would have been right. Kyle Tyler. So shout out to Kyle for putting that on the radar here for the conversation. But that's something I definitely keep my eye on. And it's, if there's something you're like, does it really work? Just watch it for a while.
Yeah,
I've done that for a long time. Just watch something for a while and see, do we normally
there's
get
the one.
reactions around this area?
There's that one.
And
Right
it's
there,
interesting
bang.
that's there. Yeah. See if you reject right here, or at least profit targets. Look, it also happens to be 599, like the whole number. Like it's
Yeah.
it's right at a whole number too.
The
Funny how that works out more times than not.
Yeah, and then you can also, and just in terms of the customization, like some of these levels, like the 4 is pretty far away. Like it's not very likely to get there. So you can also customize these inputs here to be like, so we have it as like 0.5, 1, 1.5, but you can do 0.25, 0.5, 0.75, 1. And then we're also going to allow you to update the, in terms of customization, you would be able to actually customize each of these levels too. So you have full control if you want to do 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 1, whatever else, like you'll be able to customize each of these levels. Not right now, but after we release the new update. And I do see this question here.
Yeah, so I can think of one, but I'm curious if you have something like if we're taking, some type of analysis right here. We're coming in. We're not to the launch hour yet, but we're getting close. If you were looking at a trade right now, or maybe staying away from a bad trade, either one, what's something that you would analyze right now going into the rest of the day?
Yeah. So one thing that always pops into my mind around this like noon time, this like lunchtime, is if you go to the volume report type and you go to the intraday volume and range, you see that on average, there's going to be a huge drop off in volume and range naturally. Like not really surprised. Nobody would be really surprised by that. But you're going to see a huge drop off in volume and range. So if you are going to be taking a trade, I would be very careful about forcing something. Like I would be looking for higher quality setups right now, more than like trying to enter just for the sake of entering, because it is much more likely you're going to be sitting in some sort of consolidation or some sort of like range or some sort of chop. So that's one thing that I'd say. Maybe you want to use a little bit lighter size and widen your stops, just expecting the market to not really move in a certain direction with some like volatility.
Yeah, so like to look at that just one step further, I would say if I am taking a trade right now, knowing that the range this time of day and for the next few hours is really small, if I'm in options, I'm going to be extra careful. If I'm in futures, I'm going to look at this and go, okay, if I take a trade right now, I don't need to look for either direction. I don't need to look for, a 50, 100 point move over the next 3 hours. I need to look for like a 25, 30 point move. I need to be setting reasonable targets and making sure I'm capturing the profit that makes sense, right? That hey, this time of day we don't have a big range. I need to chill out here, or I need to say, okay, if I enter here, I need to look at it at shorter take profit targets rather than longer, or just know if I am looking for a longer target, it may take the rest of the day.
Yeah.
If I'm in options, I'm probably not going to enter a new position until probably 2 o'clock or so. Like I'm probably going to look at that time frame when it starts to pick back up. It's that 2:30 where we start to see that kind of back half of the day ramp back up a little bit.
Exactly.
Look at that rejection off that.
I know it's just like
level.
Or
the other thing I have one example.
Like this,
yeah. How do you not see this and not say, hey, I want this on my chart? Like that's the way I think about it.
Yeah.
One other example, just to go back to nothing to see here's question.
Yeah.
So on SPY right now, if we look at the IB, the initial balance, that first hour, no, not by just any of them, right? Just I would say more the report is what I'm going to focus on here. But we look at SPY, and we say, okay, the initial balance, the first hour. Throw that on SPY for me. I know you're getting there. Perfect. What are the chances that we have a double break? 24%. We've broken the upside.
Yeah.
So if I am playing some type of reversal trade here, like I'm looking at this, maybe it's a shooting star that we get here. We've hit the extension. I do not want to take a trade that is looking for low of day.
Yeah.
I don't. Like the rest of the day, I'm not looking for us to reverse all the way back down because there's such a low chance of that happening. I can combine this report with the previous day's range that we've broke to the upside with the gap fill reports, and I can say if I take a reversal trade, I'm only looking to maybe back test the IB itself
Yeah.
And if that fails, maybe I hold some runners, but I'm not gonna have any targets today that look any lower than that, because there's only a 24% chance that we do come down and break that lower one. So that is a perfect example that I would look at right now and say, okay, we should not have a full fall apart reversal today based on the data. So there's a report that I would use right now in a trade. And I wouldn't take any longs up here, but if we do pull back, I would probably be more of a, maybe a dip buyer. We are up a lot, so that's tough. So like scenario wise, I probably don't want to be in a whole lot of trades today.
Yeah, 100, and I personally agree, especially because of that consolidation. Like, we are making a decent move right now, but this is where you start to FOMO into trades, and like this is where you start to get sloppy. Most people will start to get sloppy coming into the weekend. And then if you have a really bad day on a Friday, what tends to happen is you like kind of bring that grudge into Monday, and then your Monday kind of sucks. And already the market environment on Monday is like not great. So then what you're doing is you're like revenge trading on a Monday when there's like not too much opportunity typically on a Monday. And it's just a recipe for disaster. So, I mean, my advice now would be, don't try to force anything unless you see a really good setup or your risk is very small, because today's not the day. I just don't think it's the day today.
And we still have the rest of the options expiring by the end of the day. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to go through. Look at that rejection on the 0.1 extension of my 30-minute orb on SPY.
Yeah.
And now you look and see, does it come back down to that 0.5 and hold? Does it fell there? Then you look for it to come back to the
that's also
the
a good
actual
point.
orb.
Maybe you want to look for one of these, or at least a short targeting this area.
Short back to the 0.5. I take this trade all the time.
Yeah,
I would consider it right now. The conditions we're in right now, I'm not super. I got that short off the open. I got back to my trend line. I didn't long from there, and since I'm not long from there, I don't want to long up much higher right now, because that's played out. Now it's like, let's wait for the next full setup. Not like, okay, it looks like it's going this direction. Let me just jump on the train. I don't feel like today's the day to do that, just personally.
Yeah, and I'll just say that the discipline piece here arguably is one of the most important pieces to save your account.
Can you build me a discipline indicator?
Yeah, I wish.
Can you build something with discipline that just like locks me out, just puts like a red screen, like don't trade right now on my screen?
Right?
If only that was boy, that would solve a lot of traders' problems. But,
I mean, that would solve like a ton of traders' problems.
I think that's the biggest issue. Step one is the easy step, learning some basic, TA. And then step two, starting to build a strategy. But step three, having the emotional control, that's the toughest thing. But one thing you can do is, instead of, letting your emotional decisions get to you, dealing with FOMO and stuff, when you start to look at the data, I'm so much more comfortable dealing with FOMO when I know the data is stacked against it. Yeah. Because if I had to explain that to somebody, I think about trading as a business sometimes, Andre. Let's say you're my boss.
Yeah.
And I'm trading, and I take a bad trade, right? And I have to go, or I'm taking a trade right now, an entry to that trade. There's that rejection right back to the 0.5.
Yeah,
By the way, look at that. This is playing out beautiful in real time. Hope somebody in the chat took that trade. But no, if you're my boss and I'm looking at this right now, and like, let's say I took a big swing at a short all the way for low of day. Could I go to you, my boss, say, Andre, I took this trade because of this? Or am I tilted? Am I making a bad decision? And if I think about the data right there and I go, I mean, you're my boss, you could point to this and go, why did you take this trade when you know the data right here in your face is telling you this is a terrible, 31. Yesterday I was looking at one of the reports, it was like 2 out of 126 days or something like that. I was like, this is not going to happen. Like, I could not go. And you see like, okay, no breaks. I think that's what it was. Maybe it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday on QQQ. We were inside the IV for a long time, and I said one side or the other is going to break. Yeah. And it was yesterday on QQQ.
I'll look right now.
Look at QQQ's IB yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. We were in it all the way until 11:40, almost noon.
So I was looking at that about noon, and we were in the middle, and I was like, look, I don't know which way this is going to go, but I can tell you with pretty much certainty, only 2 times out of the last 126 days has it stayed inside of this. So it's going to break somewhere, and I'll wait for that to happen. So what I did was I waited for that break, and once it did break, and we saw, actually, I didn't even take that trade. I waited for the second one. I was like, okay, now we broke the lower one. I'm not looking. So let me walk you through this real fast. We finally got that break, the first one that broke through it, right? And I said, okay, we've hit that set, but now that we've broke the bottom side, I don't think we're going to go break the upside. I want to wait for a short to play out. Correct. The short played out, and I actually took a long because we finally came down to some support levels I had down there, right there. Yeah. I took a long right there and set in it basically for the rest of the afternoon. We came right back to the middle. I got out of the trade, captured as much profit as possible. Yeah. Andre, you tell the people, why did I not look for this to go to the top?
You want to know why? Because it only happens 24% of the time if we actually
throw it on QQQ.
Okay, even worse. This only happens 17% of the time.
Yeah. So look, in the first part of the day, I was looking at 1.59% saying this is going to break one side or the other. I don't know which one's going to break one side or the other. Then when it did finally break and came down, okay, now I'm not looking because of that 17% number right there.
You don't want to be doing
either one of those happen. I'm not looking for that.
Exactly.
Never. I don't want 17% odds. I want 80% odds. I want 60% odds. Anything greater than 50 even is decent for me. I'm not looking for anything less than 50. And when I see lower than 20, forget about it, right? Forget about it. So if you think about trading as a business, dealing with FOMO, and if you're having trouble with, you take good trades and then you take terrible trades, or you go on tilt, you make bad decisions because you feel like you need to be in a trade, you put the data behind it, it keeps you out of that. And you think about it as a business. If I had to go to my boss, say, hey, Andre, I know you're my trading manager. I took this trade and I had a 17% chance of success, and you're going to be like, you're fired. Like, what are you doing? You're burning money. You're losing money for no reason.
Exactly. 100%. It's I've actually never thought about it that way. Yeah. It's, if you had to go and explain to someone why you took a trade, for the most part, most traders in general that don't use data would not be able to verbalize why they took it.
Yeah.
And even if they did, they wouldn't know what the actual data behind it is. Like, for example, if price is coming back into a fair value gap, and then there's this happening, and then 8 other confluences happening, you actually know the data behind why or how often it actually works.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the mindset I use. It's like, look, if I had to explain to this trade to somebody, and I do trade on stream, I trade on Spaces, I trade in Discord. I have people listening to me, listening to my analysis and stuff. And that's part of what I have to, like, I say, okay, this is why I took this trade. And I have to be able to explain it. Like, if I'm just taking wild shots at stuff, one, the success rate's not going to be there. Maybe I get lucky a few times, but I'm not going to have any consistency at all, which is my focus is to consistently make money. And I think everyone should be that focused, right? I mean, I think that's common. But how do I explain, like, well, why did you take that trade? I don't know. I thought it looked good.
Exactly.
Okay, well, how does that sound versus, well, I had this and this and this is confluence, and I had this probability that the trade was going to work out, or that this scenario was going to occur. I have multiple pieces behind that. And even if you aren't trading, in front of anyone, or you're giving any analysis to anybody, you're just doing it for yourself, which is the majority of people, I think. Yeah. You should still be able to do that. I mean, that's the basis of all of this is, every trade you take, if you go back and review your trades, why did I take this trade? Why did it work out? Why did it not work out? Yeah. And were things even in my favor to take that trade in that scenario?
Yeah, exactly. It's so important, I feel like, because it's very easy to start and open a trading account and to start buying and selling, whether it's futures, whether it's options, whether it's just equities, whether it's crypto. There's really no barrier to entry. So people tend to lean towards like winging it a little bit, which is like not ideal. Obviously, I mean, honestly, it's terrible. But when you wing it and you don't actually have a reason, like Emp was saying, you don't have a reason for why you're in the trade, and actually reviewing your trades to say, this actually worked out, and hey, this was a great setup that didn't work. Like, for example, if you are, hypothetically, if you are going for the single break, and it double breaks, that was a great setup that just didn't work on that day, which is totally fine.
Can you build that for
Yeah.
We'll take one more turn, your mouse blows up. Sorry, that one cracked me up.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. But yeah, I mean, there's just like certain things that you have to be careful of, and like you have to, and there's no other way.
Are you seeing this play out on your screen, by the way?
Like I pulled it up and I was just like, there's no way.
This is nuts.
Yeah.
I've got it over here on the other side of my screen. I'm watching it, and same as your screen. I'm like, perfect example. I didn't take this trade, full disclosure. That's okay. But there's opportunities everywhere, right? And you know, some people are more scalpers than others. Look at this. I mean, you get the indicators with the data reports, everything, one price, one package. Like you don't have to deal with, well, what level am I and all this stuff. You guys simplified it. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have multiple chart setups I use on TradingView, just in case anybody's curious. I have the main one I show you guys a lot that has like my EMAs on a 5-minute chart. I have the like pivot points, which is an Edgeful one, and then I have like a VWAP, and I have the orb. But then I have another chart setup that I keep like on QQQ and SPY throughout the day, and I have all Edgeful. It's all Edgeful indicators on there. It's previous day's range. It is previous week's range. It is either orb or IB. And what's the other one I keep on there? Let me flip. Gap fill. I knew there was one I was missing. And gap fill. I have those on that chart setup all day, every day. And I just flip tabs to my other TradingView tab. And I look at, okay, here's all those. And I save this, right? So when I open up my charts in the morning, I don't have to play around with indicators. I have one save that's literally all these great indicators from Edgeful that I watch all day. It basically looks like your screen right there. And then I have another chart set up. Just save. You can go, if you're up in the top right where it says right there where it says Edgeful, you can save chart layouts right there. For anybody that's not familiar with this, you can save it right there. You've got 3 of them saved that looks exactly like mine. And so I just create a new layout, or I make a copy, whatever. I save my indicators on a certain setup. That way I can flip back and forth quickly during the day, make good decisions. And then obviously I always have Edgeful pulled up in a tab, and I'm excited to see when you guys get this 2.0 going. I'm super excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah. Next week.
Oh man.
But we have another report that this is one of the last things that I'll mention.
More free alpha right now?
Sorry?
Are we getting more free alpha right now? More new stuff?
Not yet. Well, yeah, we are getting some new stuff, but this is one of the last things that I'll mention here. And I think that you're actually really going to love this report. I'm not sure if I've told you about this yet, but it's going to be the initial bounce and the orb, and it's going to be called the buy retracement. So what it's going to look for is for
you say retracement, you get me excited because I love to short a move.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's go.
So you can see right here, this candle at 10:35 Eastern time breaks out of the IB. What this report is going to measure is from the first break, how often does price retrace back to 25% of the IB, to 50% of the IB, and to 75% of the IB, but only on single break days.
Okay.
So it's going to measure
which is today,
which is 80% of days. How often, like what is the pullback you can expect? So if let's just say there, and I don't know the stats, but let's say there's a 5% chance that price gets to the 75% area right here, which would be a 75% retracement from the IB high. Then you can start to get long here. If price comes back down, you can start to get long here expecting a move like this, because this will filter only for the single break days.
The other thing I like about that, what I'm just already envisioning, so like, let's say we broke out today, right?
Yeah.
If we fell back inside, where does that retracement come back to? And I've told you I look for the midpoint automatically, that 50%.
Yeah.
So like if the rest of this day, if we came back down and failed that level, that IB high, I would look for the 25, and then I would look for the 50, and I could put stats behind that now.
Yep. Exactly.
This is a trade I take all the time.
Yeah.
When you break the orb to the upside and you come back down, you usually support on it. But if it comes back, supports on it once or twice, and then breaks back into it, accepts back into the orb range, I'm looking for it to traverse to the midpoint
Exactly.
at least.
Exactly.
But I would love to know what the stats are when that happens.
Exactly. And then, so this is actually a very decent example because, and I'll have to actually, we're going to update the indicator too to reflect obviously all the, like the halfway, so you don't actually have to do what I'm doing right now. So this will be updated, obviously. But
for those that aren't good with math, he's taken half of the half right there. That's 25%.
Correct. Oh, this is not a good example. Sorry.
It didn't break in the morning.
Yeah, it didn't break until later in the day.
Didn't break until late in the day.
But
here you go. Look, that one. This is my best day of the whole week right here.
Perfect. So right here, and then now I'm gonna do this, and then now I'm doing that, and then now I'm doing this. Okay. So by the way, guys, what I just did there was I'm using the measuring tool, and the measuring tool automatically plots the halfway point by the horizontal bar right here, and it also plots the halfway point like on the x-axis and the y-axis. So what I just did was I measured the IV range, and then I marked out the halfway point here, which is 50%. And like Emp just said, then I measure from the 50% to the bottom, which gets me that 25%. You're not gonna have to worry about doing that because we're gonna build an indicator for it that will do it automatically. But just for anyone watching that might be like, what did he just do?
Yeah, what is he doing? Well, the awesome thing is you're gonna build it where it automatically does this. And
exactly.
Boy, look at that back test. I remember getting short on that back test right when it broke through and then came back.
Yep, there's one right here.
I shorted right there, and I closed out once we got the new low of day. And then that's when I said I'm not looking for any more shorts because of the scenario we were in that day.
Yeah.
And then
actually that we should consider the orb low and high too. Like how often does it come back to touch the actual orb high?
Yeah, it should, because you almost always get a back test. Almost always. I would say it's very rare that you don't back test the orb. I don't have the stats on it. That'd be an interesting stat to see. Yeah. But like, I mean, that's what I would wait for most of the time. I mean, you get a break through the orb, your entry needs to be on the back test of it.
Yeah. Interesting.
But I remember, so my long trade this exact day, I took I was trimming back into that previous low that when the first impulse came down, and then my second major trim was at the orb low. I was like, look, I'm looking for my second trim to come back to the orb low. So as we were coming back up on the long, so a little bit later in the day, right there, I took off my second major trim there, and then I was looking for the midpoint. And because I was not looking, obviously we talked about it, I was not looking for it to traverse the whole thing. So I was looking for the midpoint. And to have the report to tell me how often that happens would be beautiful.
Yeah. And that 75%, I mean, I have no idea. We don't have the data on it. But this 75% retracement, I feel like is just not going to be that much. And that's going to be
I don't think it is. I think because, and I mentioned this forever ago, when I pointed out that orb midpoint to you, and I said, like, I want that on the indicator because it's something I just watched, because I was doing it like you did. I did the measuring tool, where's the midpoint? That's going to be my target. I want, if we fell one side of the orb and come back into it, I want to look for the middle. I want to find the middle of the range as my target, because we don't always traverse the whole thing, especially on a day like this. Yeah. And I'm excited to see what the stats actually are behind it.
So am I.
And what the difference is between 50 and 75, because I feel like that 50, because I've seen it so many times, at least a point of interest, right? Whether it goes beyond it or not, you start to see it chop there. You see people have a target there, right? Somebody bigger than me is targeting a middle of the orb when it happens. For sure. And so, like, I just want to follow up, wherever that well is swimming, I just want to trail along behind them, right? Like, I follow them.
What I said this once, really long time ago, and I said it just kind of, like, we always just kind of wing it on the streams. Like we never have any, like we've
never had a script.
We've never had a script, and I love that. And I cannot stand a script. I hate when any stream or any content is like very scripted. But I said once, we were talking about how the algos move the markets, and how us are not moving anymore. Like, we're obviously not moving any markets. But what I said was, Edgeful is pretty much a read on how the algos behave, and it's a way for us to hop on the back of the algo, exactly like what you just said. So if something happens 80% of the time, this is because an algo is driving this move. There's no other really way around it. These are algorithmic moves from giant institutions, and this is the way that you can kind of get a lens into how these giant institutions actually trade, where you otherwise would not be able to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know, it's funny. I've never really heard somebody put it into words like that, but it's always been like my thought process, I guess.
Yeah.
Like you just verbalize kind of a thought process that I've always had trouble describing.
Yeah. Just understanding that we don't move the markets, the algos move the markets, and like when you see the data like this is your way of kind of like hopping on the back of what the algos are doing, which is obviously what you need to do.
Well, it's like I tried to explain this to my mother-in-law, who doesn't have a whole lot of clue about the markets, right? Especially the U.S. markets. But I was just talking to her last night. I got done doing some work. I went out there and she was here at our house, and I was kind of telling her a little bit what I do, trading and stuff. And I was explaining to her. She's like, "Yeah, it's cool seeing like the old movies, or like back in the day, it was everybody screaming, on the floor of Wall Street. They're on the phone, they're buy, and then you see them, and people are fighting over each other. It looks nothing like that now, right, Andre? If you really wanted to show a picture of like what a trading floor or all the trading floor looks like, you would just show a server room with about 2,000 server racks of supercomputers. That's how trades are processed and made now at this point.
That's pretty much it. Honestly, it's like in terms of the giant moves, there's very little human interaction. Obviously, there are these algorithms that get programmed by humans. But in terms of like some guy calling to say, I want to buy 10,000 shares of Apple, that's well out the window.
Yeah, it's all algorithmic trading at this point.
Yeah.
And there is some control to it, right? Where people are controlling the algo, they're pushing it different directions maybe, but it's pre-programmed by humans, but it's still pre-programmed, and then they just kind of it's like a throttle button, I guess. It's almost like they're throttling it up or down at times. Exactly. But a lot of if-then statements. But it's not just people screaming on the phone like it used to be, waving papers in the air like all the old movies are. It's cool to watch that, right? It would have been cool to see that in action, but obviously now it's much different. And just to paint that picture for people, because algos are what they are. Exactly.
And they control the markets whether we like it or not, and it's just up to us to kind of figure out like what are they doing. And I mean, this data here from Edgeful is what gives you the insight on, okay, what's the move, what's the thing, like what's going on right now. And what's great is that it also updates as the algos update. So as the market environment shifts, you get to see that and how things will change. So, I mean, I think even based on like, don't even like take my word for it, like take M's word for it, but like anyone else, any of the reviews that we have in our Discord, like some of the people are posting like crazy like that changed my life. Like I'm so happy I discovered this app, like one after the next, and it's very humbling for us. It's very like nice.
Yeah. Well, that's the big reward in it too, right? I mean, you're building a business, obviously a fantastic business, but you get the reward aspect out of it. I've gotten a lot of those messages that the gratitude, it's amazing to see. I've shared a couple of those with you where people have reached out to me and said, "Hey, this made me profitable. This, that you've changed the course for my family." Was one of the Edgeful, one of my followers that jumped into Edgeful, used that, and those are powerful, and they're testimonials, right? But it is powerful, right? And that's how powerful this platform is. And I honestly thank you. You've helped change my trading, change my life in a way too, my trajectory. So, shout out to you, Andre. This is a fantastic product. And boy, I know we went over time today, but I think it was worth it. I'm surprised you have this much free time on a Friday. I mean, I'm shocked your assistant, your one of your team members isn't calling you right now. Like, hey, we have this going on. I don't know if you saw,
but I did get a call, and then I just quit my Slack. I got a call that popped up on my thing, and it was like right there. So I just quit my Slack and I turned it. Like I just like turned off all my notifications.
I'll call you back later. The people need me right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Andre, the man of the people. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, We are coming into the top of the hour here. I think this is probably a great place to call it. I have a space that I'm going to jump on here shortly myself. Anyways, but Andre, thanks for popping in. You're always welcome. I'm doing these live streams right now. We're looking at Wednesday and Fridays as the day that we can fit that in the best. Perfect. Anytime I have what I'm going to do, Andre, every time I go live, I may just drop a link in our little DM chat. Yeah. You're ever free, even if it's popping in for 15 minutes to say hello. Yeah. We love having you on here. Yeah. Finding out new things that are coming. Getting your insights, because Andre's a trader too, guys. We talk back and forth. We don't talk about Edgeful that much. We should talk about trading because we're both traders. We talk about trading. So awesome, Andre. I appreciate you joining. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. We had over 4,762 people have tuned in to us this morning. So awesome. We appreciate each and every one of you. Check out Edgeful. Make sure you follow Edgeful on X. Follow Wolf Financial as well. We do appreciate Wolf Financial. And Andre, I hope you have a great rest of your day, great weekend, long weekend. So Monday's closed. I'll be watching futures. Are you going to watch futures Monday night?
Absolutely.
I will be. Hey, Trump takes stage. I've got the futures pulled up, especially if the market's been closed. I've got it pulled up. Yeah, because we may get some move. Yeah. All right. I appreciate you, Andre. I appreciate everyone that tuned in. Make sure you check everything out. We will see you on the next stream next week. Everyone.